Part I. Cowboy types. Down where the ripples, when there's water in its bed where no man is ever drunken, all prefer mezcal instead, where no lie is ever uttered, there being one can trade where no marriage vows are broken cause the same are never made. The cowboy. He wears a big hat and big spurs and all that, and a fancy fringed leather. He takes pride in his boots and the pistol he shoots, and he's happy in all kinds of weather. He's fond of his horse. It's a bronco, of course, for he can ride like the devil. He is old for his years, and he always appears like a fellow who's lived on the level. He can sing, he can cook, yet his eyes have the look of a man that to fear is a stranger. Yes, his cool, quiet nerve will always subserve for his wild life of duty and danger. He gets little to eat, and he guys tenderfeet, and for fashion, oh well. He's not in it, he can rope a gay steer when he gets on its ear at the rate of $2.40 a minute. His saddle's the best in the wild, woolly west, sometimes it will cost $60. He knows all the tricks when he brands mavericks, but his knowledge is not got from your scholars. He is loyal as steel, but demands a square deal, and he hates and despises a coward, yet the cowboy you'll find to women is kind though he'll fight till by death overpowered. Hence I say unto you, give the cowboy his due, and be kind, my friends, to his folly, for he's generous and brave, though he may not behave like your dudes, who are so melancholy. Anonymous. Barzy on a Sunday night. We ain't no saints on the Barzy ranch, tease said, and we know who tease. Devil's laid hold on us, tooth and branch, and uses us in his biz. Still, we ain't so bad, but we might be wuss, and you'd sure admit that's right, if you happened an unbeknown to us around of a Sunday night. Weekday manners is stowed away, jokes in the card game's halts, when Dick's fiddle begins to play a tune and it ain't no waltz. It digs for things that are out o' sight, it delves through toughest crust, it grips heartstrings, and holds 'em tight till we've got ter sing or bust. With treble the kid starts in, and hell, how that kid can sing. Yield not to temptation, fur is sin, he leads in the rafters ring, fight manfully onward, dark passions subdue, we shouts it with force and vim, look ever to Jesus, he'll carry you through, that's it up to him. We ain't no saints on the Barzy, but many a time and oft when fiddles abide with me, our hearts gets kinder soft. And we make some promises there, and then which we keeps till we goes to bed, that's the most could be a passel men what ain't no saints, as I said. Comes a cowboy race. A pattering rush like the rattle of hail when the Storm King's wild coursers are out on the trail, a long roll of hoofs and the earth is a drum. The centaurs. Say, over the prairies they come. A rollicking, clattering, battering beat, a rhythmical thunder of galloping feet, a swift swirling dust cloud, a mad hurricane of swarthy, grim faces and tossing black mane. Hurrah! In the face of the steeds of the sun, the gauntlet is flung and the race is begun. J. C. Davis. The habit. I've beat my way wherever any winds have blown. I've bummed along from Portland down to San, from Sandy Hook to Frisco, over gulch and hill, for once you get the habit, why you can't keep still. I settled down quite frequent, and I says I, I'll never wander further till I come to die. But the wind it sorter chuckles, why, oh, course you will. And sure enough I does it 'cause I can't keep still. I've seen a lot o' places where I'd like to stay, but I gets a restless and I'm on my way. I was never meant for on my own door sill, and once you get the habit, why you can't keep still. I've been in rich men's houses and I've been in jail, but when it's time for I hits the trail. I'm a human bird of passage and the song I trill is, once you get the habit, why you can't keep still. The sun is sorter and the road is clear, and the wind is ballads that I got to hear. It ain't no use to argue when you feel the thrill, for once you get the habit, why you can't keep still. A ranger. He never made parade of tooth or claw, he was plain as us that nursed the herds. Though he had a rather jaw, he was shy of it with words. As a circus preacher of the law all his was the sort that hit the nail, he was just a common ranger, just a pilgrim stranger, and he labored with the sinners of the trail. Once a Yaqui knifed a woman, jealous mad, then hit southward with the old killer's plan, and nobody missed the woman very bad, while they just a little rather missed the man. But the ranger crossed his trail and sniffed it glad, and then loped away to bring him back again, for he stood for peace and order on the lonely, sunny border, and his business was to hunt for sinful men. So the trail it led him southward all the day, through the country of the thorn and snake, where the heat had drove the lizards from their play to the shade of rock and bush and yucca stake. And the mountains heaved and rippled far away, and the desert broiled as on the devil's prong, but he didn't mind the devil if his head kept clear and level, and the hoofs beat out their clear and steady song. Came the yellow west, and on a far-off rise something black crawled up and dropped beyond the rim, and he reached his rifle out and rubbed his eyes while he cussed the southern hills for dim. Down a hazy came the coyote cries, like they laughed at him because he'd lost his mark, and the smile that brands a fighter pulled his mouth a little as he set his spurs and rode on through the dark. Came the moonlight on a trail that wriggled higher through the mountains that look into Mexico, and the shadows strung his nerves like banjo wire, and the miles and minutes dragged unearthly slow. Then a black mesquite spit out a thread of fire, and the canyon walls flung thunder back again, and he caught himself and fumbled at his rifle, while he grumbled that his bridle arm had weight enough for 10. Though his rifle pointed wavy-like and slack, and he grabbed for leather at his hawse's shy, yet he sent a soft-nosed exhortation back that convinced the sinner just above the eye. So the sinner sprawled among the shadows black, while the ranger drifted north beneath the moon, crazy in his saddle, hard to stay astraddle while the hoofs beat out a slow and sorry tune. When the sheriff got up early out of bed, how he stared and vowed his soul a total loss, as he saw the droopy thing all blotched with red that came in aboard a hawse. But I got was the most the ranger said, and you couldn't hire him now to tell the tale. He was just a quiet ranger, just a pilgrim stranger, and he labored with the sinners of the trail. Charles Badger Clark. The insult. I've swum the Colorado where she runs close down to hell. I've braced the faro layouts in Cheyenne. I've fought for muddy water with a bunch of swine and swallowed hot tamales in Cayenne. I've rode a bronco till the sky was underneath. I've tackled every desert in the land. I've sampled XX whiskey till I couldn't hardly see in with the quicksands of the. I've argued with the marshals of a half a dozen burgs. I've been dragged free and fancy by a cow I've had 3 years, with this 9th, and I never lost my temper till right now. I've had the yeller fever and been shot plumb full of holes. I've grabbed an army mule plumb by the tail, but I've never been so, really highfalutin, mad as when you up and hands me ginger ale. Anonymous. The road to ruin too. I went into the grog shop, Tom, and stood beside the bar, and drank a glass of lemonade and smoked a bad. The same old kegs and jugs was, the same we used to know when we was on the roundup, Tom, some 20 years ago. The bartender is not the same. The one who used to sell corroded tanglefoot to us is rotting now in hell. This one has got a plate glass front, he combs his hair quite low, he looks just like the one we knew some 20 years ago. Old Soak came up and asked for booze and had the same old grin, while others burned their living forms and wet their coats with gin. Outside the doorway women stood, their faces seamed with woe, and wept just like they used to weep some 20 years ago. I asked about our old-time friends, those cheery, sporty men, and some was in the poorhouse, Tom, and some was in the pen. You know the one you liked the best, the hangman laid him low. Oh, few are left that used to booze some 20 years ago. You recollect our favorite, whom pride claimed for her own. He used to say that he could booze or lave the stuff alone. He perished for the James Fitz James, out in the rain and snow. Yes, few survive who used to booze some 20 years ago. I visited the old churchyard, and there I saw the graves of those who used to drown their woes in old fermented ways. I saw the graves of women lying where the daisies grow, who wept and died of broken hearts some 20 years ago. Anonymous. The outlaw. When my loop takes hold on a 2-year-old, by the feet or the neck or the horn he can plunge and fight till his eyes go white, but I'll throw him as sure as you're born. Though the taut ropes sing like a banjo string and the creak and strain, yet I've got no fear of an outlaw steer, and I'll tumble him on the plain. For a man is a man and a steer is a beast, and the man is the boss of the herd, and each of the bunch, from the biggest to least, must come down when he says the word. When my leg swings cross on an outlaw hawse and my spurs clinch into his hide, he kin and pitch over hill and ditch, but wherever he goes I'll ride. Let spin and flop like a crazy top, or flit like a wind-whipped smoke, but he'll know the feel of my heel till he's happy to own he's broke. For a man is a man and a hawse is a brute, and the hawse may be prince of his clan, but he'll bow to the bit and the steel-shod boot, and own that his boss is the man. When the devil at rest underneath my vest gets up and begins to paw, and my hot tongue strains at its bridle reins, then I tackle the real outlaw when I get plumb riled and my sense goes wild, and my temper has fractious growed. If he'll hump his neck just a speck, then it's dollars to dimes I'm throwed. For a man is a man, but he's partly a beast. He kin brag till he makes you deaf, but the one lone brute from the west to the east that he quite break is Charles B. Clark. The desert. 'Twas the lean coyote told me, bearing his slavish soul, as I counted the ribs of my dead cayuse and cursed at the desert sky, the tale of the upland rider's fate while I dug in the water hole for a drop, a taste of the bitter seep, but the water hole was dry. He came, said the lean coyote, and he cursed as his pony fell, and he counted his pony's ribs aloud, yea, even as you have done. He raved as he ripped at the clay-red sand like an imp from the pit of hell, shriveled with thirst for 1,000 years, and craving a drop just one. His name? I asked, and he told me, yawning to hide a grin. His name is writ on the prison roll, and many a place beside last. He scribbled it on the sand with a finger seared and thin, and I watched his face as he spelled it out, laughed as I laughed, and died. And thus, said the lean coyote, his need is the hungry's feast, and mine. I fumbled and pulled my gun, emptied it wild and fast, but one of the crazy shots went home and silenced the waiting beast. There lay the shape of the liar, dead. 'Twas I that should laugh the last. Laugh? Nay, now I would write my name as the upland rider wrote right. What need, for before my eyes in a wide and wavering line, I saw the trace of a written word, and letter by letter float into a mist as the world grew dark, and I knew that the name was mine. Dreams and visions within the dream, turmoil and fire and pain, hands that proffered a brimming cup empty, ere I could take then the burst of a thunderhead rain. It was rude, fierce rain. Blindly down to the hole I crept, shivering, drenched, awake. Dawn in the edge of the red-rimmed sun scattering golden flame, as stumbling down to the water-hole came the horse that I thought was dead, but never a sign of the other beast nor a trace of a rider's name, just a rain-washed track and an empty gun and the old home trail ahead. Henry. Whiskey Bill, a fragment. A down the road and gun in hand comes Whiskey Bill, mad Whiskey Bill A, for some place to land comes Whiskey Bill. And like to be 10 miles away behind a tree when on his joyous, aching spree starts Whiskey Bill. The times have changed since you made love, oh Whiskey Bill, oh Whiskey Bill. The happy sun grinned up above at Whiskey Bill. And down the middle of the street, the sheriff comes on toe and feet A for one fretful peek at Whiskey Bill. The cows go grazing o'er the lea, poor Whiskey Bill. Poor Whiskey Bill. And aching thoughts pour in on me of Whiskey Bill. The sheriff up and found his stride, Bill's soul went down the slide. How are things on the great divide, oh Whiskey Bill? Anonymous. Denver Jim. Say fellers that ornery thief must be nigh us, for I saw him across this way to the right, ah, there he is now right under that bur oak as fearless and cool as if all night. Well, come on, but get every shooter all ready for him, if he's to give us a fight. The birds in the grove will sing chants to our picnic, and that limb over him stands about right. Say, stranger, good. Why, dog blast my lasso, boys, if it ain't Denver Jim that's here at last. Right aside for the... Well, Jim, we are all night for a couple about of your cast. And you're enter this, so we thought perhaps you might give us the trail. Haven't seen anything that would answer description. What a nerve that chap has, but it will not avail. Want to trade hosses fur the one I am. Will you give me 500 betwixt fur the boot? Say, Jim, that air gold is the strongest temptation, and many a man would say take it and scoot. But we don't belong to that denomination. You have got to the end of your rope, Denver Jim. In 10 minutes more will be the prairie, and you will be there right from that limb. Have you got any why the sentence ain't proper? Here, take you a drink from the old whiskey flask. Not dry. Well, I am, and will drink to your pard, and wish that this court will not bungle this task. There the old lasso circles your neck like a fixture. Here, boys, take the line and wait for the word. I am sorry, old boy, that your claim has gone under, for you don't meet your fate like the low common herd. What's that? So you want me to answer a letter? Well, give it to me till I make it all right. A moment or two will be only good manners. The judicious acts of this court will be white. Long Point, Arkansas, the 13th of August. My dearest son James, somewhere out in the west, for long, weary months I've been waiting for tidings, since your last loving letter came eastward to bless. God bless you, my son, for thus sending that money, remembering your mother when sorely in need. May the angels from heaven now guard you from danger, and happiness follow your generous deed. How I long so to see you come into the doorway, as you used to of old when weary to rest. May the days be but few when again I can greet you, my comfort and staff is your mother's request. Say, pard, here's your letter. I'm not good at, I think you'd do better to answer them lines, and for fear I might want it I'll take off that lass, and the hoss you kin leave when you get to the pines. And Jim, when you see your old mother, tell her that a wee bit kinder hasten the day when her boy could come eastward to stay with her always. Come boys, up and mount, and to Denver away. O'er the prairies the sun tipped the trees with its splendor, the dew on the grass flashed the diamonds so bright, as the tenderest memories came like a blessing from the days of sweet childhood on pinions of light. Not a word more was spoken as they parted that morning, yet the trail of a tear marked each cheek as they turned, for higher than law is the love of a mother. It reversed the decision, the court was adjourned. Sharman D. Richardson. The Vigilantes. We are the whirlwinds that winnow the west, we scatter the wicked like straw. We are the nemesis never at rest, we are justice and right and the law. Moon on the snow and a blood-chilling blast, sharp throbbing hoofs like the heartbeat of fear, a halt, a swift parley, a pause, then at last a stiff, swinging figure cut darkly and sheer against the blue steel of the sky, ghastly white every onlooking face. Men, our duty was clear, yet what a soul to send forth to the night. Ours is a service brute, hateful and grim, little we love the wild task that we seek, are they dainty to deal with the fear-rigid limb, the curse and the struggle, the blasphemous shriek. Nay, but men must endure while their bodies have breath. God made us strong to avenge him the weak, to dispense his sure wages of sin, which is death. We stand for our duty, while wrong works its will. Our search shall be stern and our course shall be wide. Retribution shall prove that the just lieth still, and its horrors and dangers our hearts can abide, that safety and honor may tread in our path. The vengeance of heaven shall speed at our side, as we follow unwearied our mission of wrath. We are the whirlwinds that winnow the west, we scatter the wicked like straw. We are the nemesis never at rest, we are justice and right and the law. The bandit's grave. Mid lava rock and glaring sand, the desert's brassy skies, bound in the silent chains of death, a border bandit lies. The poppy waves her golden glow above the lowly mound, the cactus stands with lances drawn, a martial guard around. His dreams are free from guile or greed, or foray's wild alarms. No fears creep in to break his rest in the desert's scorching arms. He sleeps in peace beside the trail, where the twilight shadows play, though they watch each night for his return 1,000 miles away. From the mesquite groves a night bird calls when the western skies grow red, the sandstorm sings his deadly song above the sleeper's head. His steed has wandered to the hills, and helpless are his hands, yet peons curse his memory across the shifting sands. The desert cricket tunes his pipes when the half-grown moon shines dim, the sage thrush trills her evening song, but what are they to him? A rude-built cross beside the trail that follows to the west casts its long-drawn, ghastly shadow across the sleeper's breast. A lone coyote comes by night and sits beside his bed, sobbing the midnight hours away with gaunt, uplifted head. The lizard trails his aimless way across the lonely mound, when the star guards of the desert their pickets post around. The winter snows will heap their drifts among the leafless sage, the pallid hosts of the blizzard will lift their voice in rage, the gentle rains of early spring will woo the flowers to bloom, and scatter their fleeting incense o'er the border bandit's tomb. Charles Pitt. The Old Trail. See, stretching yonder o'er that low divide which parts the falling rain, the eastern slope sends down its waters to the southern sea, through double mountains' winding length of stream. The western side spreads out into a plain, which sinks away o'er tawny rolling leagues at last into the rushing sea, faintly showing on that distant ridge, the deep-cut pathways through the shelving crests, sage-matted now and rimmed with chaparral, the dim reminders of the olden times, the life of stir of blood of Indian raid, the hunt of buffalo and antelope, the camp, the wagon train, the sea of steers, the cowboy's lonely vigil through the night, the stampede and the wild ride through the storm. The call of California's golden flood, the impulse of the Saxon, westward ho, which set our fathers' faces from the east, to spread resistless o'er the barren wastes, to people all the regions, the sun, those Vikings of the old trail. It wins this old forgotten cattle trail, through valleys still and silent even now, save when the yellow-breasted desert lark cries shrill and lonely from a dead mesquite, in quivering notes set in a minor key, the endless round of sunny days, of starry nights, the desert's blank immutability. The coyote's howl is heard at dark from some low-lying hill. Companioned by the loafer wolf, they yelp in concert to the far-off stars, or gnaw the bones in savage rage that lie unburied by the grass-grown paths. The prairie dogs play sentinel by day, and backward slips the badger to his den, the whir, the fatal strike of rattlesnake, a staring buzzard floating in the blue, and, now and then, the curlew's eerie call, lost, always lost, and seeking evermore. All else is mute and dormant. Vacantly the sun looks down, the days run idly on, the breezes whirl the dust, which eddying falls smothering the records of the westward caravans, where silent heaps of wreck and nameless graves make milestones for the old trail. Across the Colorado, through broad, fair valley, sweeping on by Abilene, it climbs upon the plains, the Llano, beyond lie wastes of alkali and hunger gaunt and death, and here is lost in shifting rifts of sand. Anon it lingers by a hidden spring that bubbles joy into the wilderness, its pathway trenched that distant mountain side, now grown to gulches through torrential rain. Gathered by the way long ere the furrows grew on yonder hill, cut by the creaking prairie schooner wheels law, the gentle Frenchman crossed this course, and went to death and to a nameless grave. For ages and for ages through the past Comanches and Apache from the north came sweeping southward, searching for the sun, and charged in mimic combat on the sea. The scions of slow-browed race perhaps have seen that knotted, thorn-clad tree, or sucked the cactus apples growing there. All these have passed, and passed the immigrants, who bore the westward fever in their brain, the Norsemen tang for roving in their veins, who loved the plains as sailors love the sea, braved danger, death, and found a resting place while traveling on the old trail. Brave old Long has laid him down to rest beyond the trail that bears his name. A granite mountain makes his monument. The northers, moaning o'er the low divide, go gently past his long deserted camps. No more his rangers guard the wild frontier, no more he leads them in the border fight. No more the maverick's winding stream of horns to Kansas bound, the dust, the cowboy songs and cries, the pistol's sharp report the free, wild days in Texas by the. And some men say when dusky night shuts down dark, cloudy nights without a kindly star, one sees dim horsemen skimming o'er the plain hard by's trail, and keener ears have heard from deep within the bordering hills the tramp of ghostly hoofs, faint cattle lows, the rumble of a moving wagon train, sometimes far echoes of a frontier song, then sounds grow fainter, shadows troop away, on westward, as they in olden time went ranging o'er the old trail. John A. The Sheep Herder 3. All day across the sagebrush flat, beneath the sun of June, my sheep they loaf and feed and bleat their never tune. And then at night time, when they lay as quiet as a stone, I hear the gray wolf far away, a low one. He says, a low one. The tune the woolies sing, it's rasped my ears, it seems, for years, though really just since spring, and, far as I can see around the circle's sweep, but sky and plain, my dreams and me and them infernal sheep. I've got one book, it's poetry, a bunch of pretty wrongs an Eastern lunger gave to me, he said 'twas shepherd songs. But though that poet sure is deep and has sweet things to say, he never seen a herd of sheep or smelt them anyway. My woolie's greasy gray, an awful change has hit the range since that old poet's day. For you're just silly, why brutes, and I look like distress, and my pipe ain't the kind that toots and there's no shepherdess. Yet way down home in Kansas State, Bliss Township, Section 5, there's one that's promised me to wait, the sweetest girl alive, that's why I salt my wages down and mend my clothes with strings, while others blow their pay in town for booze and other things. My, don't be sad, next year we'll lease that splendid piece that corners on your dad. We'll drive to Literary, dear, the way we used to do, and turn my lonely here to happiness for you. Suppose down near that rattler's den, while I sit here and dream, I'd spy a bunch of ugly men and hear a woman scream. Suppose I'd let my rifle shout and drop the men in rows, and then the woman should turn out, my just suppose. The tune would then be gay, there is, I mind, a parson kind just 40 miles away. Why, Eden would come back again with sage and sheep corrals, and I could swing a pen to write her pastorals. I pack a rifle on my arm and jump at flies that buzz. There's here to do me harm, I sometimes wish there was. If through that brush above the pool a red should creep and creep, wah! Cut down on stop, you fool. That's but a sheep. Oh, bah hell. Oh, sky and plain and bluff. Unless my mail comes up the trail, I'm locoed, sure enough. What's that, a dust whiff near the butte right where my last trail ran? A speck, a wagon. Hooda. Thank God. Here comes a man. Charles Badger Clark. A cowboy at the carnival. Yes, oh, it's to a feller from the range, mighty queerish, too. I tell you, a racket for a change from a life among the cattle, from a wool shirt and the chaps to the biled shirt, oh, the city and the other Tony traps. Never seed herds, oh, people throwed together. Every brand, oh, humanity, I reckon, in this big mountain land rounded up right here in Denver, on new sort, oh, feed. Actin' restless and like they threatened to stampede. Mighty curious to a rider from the range, he feels what you'd call a lost sensation from sombrero to heels, like a critter stray that drifted in a windstorm from its range to another run, oh, where the brands it sees are strange. Then I see a city herder, a policeman, don't you know, sort o' think he's got men spotted in, is bout to make a throw fur to catch me and corral me fur a stray till he can talk on the wire and tell the owner fur to come and get his stock. Yes, it's mighty strange and funny for a cowboy, as you say, fur to hit a camp like this one, so unanimously gay, but I want to tell you, pardner, that a rider as me isn't built fur on crazy jamboree. Every bone I got's and my feet as sore as if I had hit a bed o' cactus, and my hinges is as stiff from these hot pavements as a feller's kin git, tain't like down a bronco on the range a little bit. I tell you, fur to hit the trail and run like a crazy locoed from this big cloudburst o' fun back toward the cattle ranches, where a feller's breath comes free and he wears the clothes that fits him, stead o' this slick toggery. Where his home is in the saddle, and the heavens is his roof, and his companions wears the hide and cloven hoof, worthy of the cattle is the only sound he hears, and he never thinks but his grub and hoss and steers. Anonymous. The old cowman. I rode across a valley range I hadn't seen for years. The trail was all so spoilt and strange it nearly fetched the tears. I had to let 10 fences down, the fussy lanes ran wrong, and each new line would make me frown and hum a song. Oh, it's squeak, 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 hear 'em of the wire. The Nestor brand is on the land, I reckon I'll retire. While progress toots her brassy horn and makes her motor buzz, I thank the Lord I wasn't born no later than I was. 'Twas good to live when all the sod, without no fence nor fuss, belonged in partnership to God, the government, and us. With skyline bounds from east to west and room to go and come, I loved my fellowman the best when he was scattered some. Oh, it's squeak, 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 close and closer cramps the wire. There's hardly play to back away and call a man a liar. Their house has locks on every door, their land is in a crate. There ain't the plains of God no more, they're only real estate. There's land where yet no ditchers dig, nor cranks experiment, it's only lovely, free and big, and isn't worth a cent. I pray that them who come to spoil may wait, till I am dead before they foul that blessed soil with fence and cabbage head. Yet it's squeak, squeak, squeak. Far and farther crawls the wire. To crowd and pinch another inch is all their heart's desire. The world is overstocked with men, and some will see the day when each must keep his little pen, but I'll be far away. When my old soul hunts range and rest beyond the last divide, just plant me in some stretch of west that's sunny, lone, and wide. Let cattle rub my tombstone down, and coyotes mourn their kin, let hawses paw and tramp but don't you fence it in. Oh, it's squeak, 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 and they pen the land with wire. They figure fence and copper cents where we laughed round the fire. Job cussed his birthday, night and morn in his old land but I'm just glad I wasn't born no later than I was. Charles Badger Clark. The monster route. The lingering sunset across the plain kissed the rear-end door of an eastbound train and shone on a passing track close by where a dingbat sat on a rotting tie. He was ditched by a shock and a cruel fate. The con highballed, and the manifest freight pulled out on the stem behind the mail, and she hit the ball on a sanded rail. As she pulled away in the falling light, he could see the gleam of her red tail light. Then the moon arose and the stars came out. He was ditched on the monster route. Nothing in sight but sand and space, no chance for a gink to feed his face, not even a shack to beg for a lump or a henhouse to frisk for a single gump. He gazed far out on the solitude. He drooped his head and began to brood. He thought of the time he lost his mate in a hostile burg on the nickel plate. They had mooched the stem and threw their feet, and speared 4 bits on which to eat, but deprived themselves of daily bread and shafted their coin for Dago red. Down by the track in the jungle's glade, in the cool green grass in the tuli's shade, they shed their coats and ditched their shoes and tanked up full of that colored booze. Then they took a flop with their skins plumb full, and they did not hear the harnessed bull till he shook them out of their boozy nap with a husky voice and a loaded sap. They were charged with vag, for they had no kale, and the judge said 60 days in jail. But the John had a bindle a worker's plea, so they gave him a floater and set him free. They had turned him up but ditched his mate, so he grabbed the guts of an eastbound freight. He flung his form on a rusty rod, till he heard the shack say, "Hit the sod." The John piled off. He was in the ditch with 2 switch lamps and a rusty switch, a poor, old, seedy, half-starved bow on a hostile pike without a show. From away off somewhere in the dark came the sharp, short notes of a coyote's bark. The beau looked round and quickly rose, and shook the dust from his threadbare clothes. Off in the west through the moonlit night he saw the gleam of a big headlight. An eastbound stock train hummed the rail. She was due at the switch to clear the mail. As she drew up close, the head end shacked through the switch to the passenger track. The stock rolled in and off the main, and the line was clear for the westbound train. When she hove in sight far up the track, she was steam, with her brake shoes slack. She hollered once at the whistle post, then she flitted by like a frightened ghost. He could hear the roar of the big 6-wheel, and her driver's pound on the polished steel, and the screech of her flanges on the rail as she beat it west o'er the desert trail. The John got busy and took the risk. He climbed aboard and began to frisk. He reached up high and began to feel for the end door pin, then he cracked the seal. 'Twas a double-deck stock car, filled with sheep. Old John crawled in and went to sleep. She whistled twice and highballed out. They were off down the monster route. LF Post and the call of the plains. Ho, wind of the far, far prairies, free as the waves of the sea. Your voice is sweet as in alien street, the cry of a friend to me. You bring me the breath of the prairies, known in the days that are sped, the wild geese's cry and the blue, blue sky and the sailing clouds o'erhead. My eyes are weary with longing for a sight of the sage grass gray, for the dazzling light of a noontide bright and the joy of the open day. Oh, to hear once more the clanking of the noisy cowboy's spur, and the south wind's kiss like a mild caress making the grasses stir. I dream of the wide, wide prairies touched with their glistening sheen, the coyote's cry and the wind-swept sky and the waving billows of green. And oh, for a night in the open where no sound discordant mars, and the marvelous glow when the sun is low and the silence under the stars. Ho, wind from the western prairies. Ho, voice from a far domain. I feel in your breath what I'll feel till death, the call of the plains again. The call of the spirit of freedom to the spirit of freedom in me. My heart leaps high with a jubilant cry, and I answer in ecstasy. Mac, where the grizzly dwells for. I admire the artificial art of the East, but I love more the inimitable art of the West, where nature's handiwork lies in virginal beauty. Amidst the hum of city life, I saunter back to dreams of home. Astride the back of my trusty steed, I wander away, losing myself in the foothills of the Rockies. Away from human habitations, up the rugged slopes, through the timbered stretches, I hear the frightful cry of wolves and see a bear sneaking up behind. Many nights ago, while herding a bunch of cattle during the roundup season, I lay upon the grass looking at the mated stars. I wondered if a cowboy could go to the unknown place, the happy hunting ground, when this short life is over. But here or there, I shall always live in the land of mountain air, where the grizzly dwells and sage brush grows, where mountain trout are not a few, in the land of the bitterroot, the Indian land of the Golden West. James Fox, A Cowboy Toast. Here's to the passing cowboy, the plowman's pioneer, his home, the boundless mesa, he of any man the peer. Around his wide sombrero was stretched the rattler's hide, his bridle sporting, his lasso at his side. All day he roamed the prairies, at night he, with the stars, kept vigil o'er thousands held by neither posts nor bars, with never a diversion in all the lonesome land, but cattle, 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 and sun and sage and sand. Sometimes the hootal hailed him, when scudding through the flat, and prairie dogs would sauce him, as at their doors they sat. The rattler hissed its warning when near its haunts he trod some Texas steer pursuing o'er the pathless waste of sod. With lasso, quirt, and coulter the cowboy knew his skill. They pass with him to history, and not their place can fill, while he, bold bronco rider, ne'er conned a lesson page, but cattle, 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 and sun and sand and sage. And oh, the long night watches, with terror in the skies, when lightning played and mocked him till blinded were his eyes, when raged the storm around him, and fear was in his heart, lest panic-stricken leaders might make the whole herd start. That meant a death for many, perhaps a wild stampede, when none could stem the fury of the cattle in the lead. Ah, then life seemed so little and death so very near, with cattle, 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 and darkness everywhere. Then quaff with me a bumper of water, clear and pure, to the memory of the cowboy whose fame must e'er endure from the lawn to Dakota's distant sands, where were herded countless thousands in the days of fenceless lands. Let us rear for him an altar in the temple of the brave, and weave of Texas grasses a garland for his grave, and offer him a guerdon for the work that he has done with cattle, 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 and sage and sand and sun. James Barton Adams. Up the rocky trail from town, Billy rode out of the town. Close at his shoulder rode Jack, over the legs of the prairies brown into the hills where the sun goes down. Billy and Jack. Billy looked down the dell. Dead below him lay Jack. With his gun at his forehead he fired and fell, then rode they two through the streets of hell, Billy and Jack. We're the children of the open, and we hate the haunts o' men, but we had to come to town to get the mail. And we're home at daybreak, 'cause the air is cooler than all one of us that stopped behind in jail. Shorty's nose won't bear, Bill's off eye is darkly, all our toilets show a touch of disarray, for we found that city life is a constant round of strife, and we the breed from a fray. Chant your pardners, dear, while the east turns pale with fear, and the chaparral is all, for we're wicked to we're a midnight dream of terror when we're up the rocky trail from town. We acquired our hasty temper from our friend, the centipede. From the rattlesnake we learnt to guard our rights. We have gathered pointers from the famous bronco steed, and the bobcat teached us that bites. So when some high-collared jeered the garb that I was, long till we had got where ends, and he his ill-bred chat with a sauce of derby hat, while my merry pardners entertained his friends. Sing out, my buckaroos. Let the desert hear the news. Tell the stars the way we rubbed the haughty down. We're the fiercest wolves, and it's just our night for when we're up the rocky trail from town. Since the days that Lawton split the Jordan range in halves just to fix it so their punchers wouldn't fight, since old Jacob skinned his dad-in-law of 6 years, crop of calves, and then hit the trail for Canaan in the night, there has been a taste for battle 'mong the men that follow cattle, and a love of things that's wild and strange. And the warmth of Laban's words when he missed his speckled herds still is useful in the language of the range. Sing out, my bold coyotes. Leather fists and leather throats, for we wear the brand of L like a crown. We're the sons o' desolation, we're the outlaws of creation, yow. Up the rocky trail from town. The disappointed tenderfoot. He reached the west in a palace car where the writers tell us the cowboys are, with the redskin bold and the centipede and the rattlesnake and the loco weed. He looked around for the buckskin joes and the things he'd seen in the Wild West shows, the cowgirls gay and the broncos wild and the painted face of the Injun child. He listened close for the fierce war whoop, and his pent-up spirits began to droop, and he wondered then if the hills and nooks held none of the sights of the story books. He hoped he would see the marshal pot some bold bad man with a pistol shot, and entered a low saloon by chance, where the tenderfoot is supposed to dance while the cowboy shoots at his boothiels there, and the smoke of powder begrims the air, but all was quiet as if he'd strayed to that silent spot where the dead are laid. Not even a faro game was seen, and none flaunted the long, long green. 'Twas a blow for him who had come in quest of a touch of the real wild woolly west. He vainly sought for a bad cayuse and the swirl and swish of the flying noose, and the cowboy's yell as he roped a steer, but nothing of this fell on his ear. Not even a wide-brimmed hat he spied, but darbies flourished on every side, and the spurs and the chaps and the flannel shirts, the high-heeled boots and the guns and the quirts, the cowboy saddles and silver bits and fancy bridles and swell outfits he'd read about in the novels grim, were not on hand for the likes of him. He peered about for a stagecoach old, and a miner man with a bag of gold, and a burro train with its pack loads which he'd read they tie with the diamond hitch. The rattlers were, and the coyote's wail ne'er sounded out as he hit the trail, and no one knew of a branding bee or a steer roundup that he longed to see. But the oldest settler named Six Guns Sim rolled a cigarette and remarked to him, "The west gone to the east, my son, and it's only in tense things is done." Aye, a cowboy alone with his conscience. When I ride into the mountains on my little bronco bird, my ears are never pelted with the herd, and a sort o' dreamy quiet hangs upon the western air, and ain't no animation to be noticed anywhere. Then I sort o' get a notion in my head I'm the only mortal, everybody else is dead, and I feel a queer sensation, rather like an odd when ain't nobody near me, God. Every rabbit that I startle from its shaded place seems a furry shaft o' silence into noiseless space, and a rattlesnake through the rocks so old and gray helps along the ghostly in a rather way. Every breeze that dares to whisper does it with a bated breath, every bush stands grim and silent in a sort o' death. Tell you what, a feller's give him many an icy prod when ain't nobody near him, God. Somehow get to the error o' my ways, and my memory goes back to childhood's happy days, when a mother, now in the grave so dark and deep, used to listen while I'd whisper, "Now I lay me down to sleep." Then a sort o' guilty gets it in my breast, and I wonder how I'll stack up at the final judgment test. Conscience welts it to me with a mighty rod when ain't nobody near me, God. Take the very meanest sinner that the nation ever saw, one that don't respect religion, he respects the law, one that never does an action that's commendable or good, and immerse him for a season out in nature's solitude, and the cogwheels o' his be rattled out o' gear, if he tended every Sunday in the year, for his sins ill come through his cranium rough shod, when ain't nobody near him, God. James Barton Adams. Just for me a horse and saddle every day without a change, with the desert sun on 100 miles range. Just a desert in the sun, mountains blue along the skyline. I don't envy anyone. When my feet are in the stirrups and my horse is on the bust, when his hoofs are from a golden cloud o' dust, and the of the cattle is down the wind, a finer life than would be mighty hard to find. Just a long cracks in the air, up a baby cyclone, up the prickly pear. I don't need no art exhibits when the sunset does his best, glories on the mountains of the west. And your operas look foolish when the night bird starts his tune, and the desert's silver mounted by the kisses of the moon. I don't envy kings, nor when the coyotes down the valley are to the stars. When my earthly trail is ended and my final bacon curled, and the last great roundup's finished at the home ranch of the world, I don't want no harps or halos, robes, or other dress-up things. Let me ride the starry ranges on a pinto horse with wings. Just a chunks o' wintry air, with your feet froze to your stirrups and a snowdrift in your hair. As sent by Adams, a Colorado cowpuncher. See Sun and Saddle Leather by Charles Badger Clark. The end of the trail. So. The water's handy, the grass is plenty, and all the stars a sparkle. We drive no mo. The long trail ends today, the punchers go to play, and all you weary cattle may sleep in peace for sure, sleep for sure. The moon can't bite you, nor punchers fright you. And you all will be beef, we need you any mo. From Songs of the Cattle Trail and Cow Camp. By John A. May you do good and not evil. May you find forgiveness for yourself and forgive others. May you share freely, never taking more than you give. Copyright pages exist to tell you that you can't do something. Unlike them, this page exists to tell you that the writing and artwork in this are believed to be in the United States public domain. That is, they are believed to be free of copyright restrictions in the United States. The United States public domain represents our collective cultural heritage, and items in it are free for anyone in the United States to do almost anything at all without having to get permission. Copyright laws are different all over the world, and the source text or artwork in this may still be copyrighted in other countries. If you're not located in the United States, you must check your local laws before using this. Standard makes no representations regarding the copyright status of the source text or artwork in this in any country other than the United States. Non-authorship activities performed on items that are in the public domain's so-called sweat of the brow work don't create a new copyright. That means that nobody can claim a new copyright on an item that is in the public domain for, among other things, work like digitization, markup, or typography. Regardless, the contributors to this release their contributions under the terms in the CC01 Universal Public Domain Dedication, thus dedicating to the worldwide public domain all of the work they've done on this, including but not limited to metadata, the imprint, colophon, this, and any changes or enhancements to, or markup on the original text and artwork. This dedication doesn't change the copyright status of the source text or artwork. We make this dedication in the interest of enriching our global cultural heritage, to promote free and culture around the world, and to give back to the unrestricted culture that has given all of us so much. Table of Contents. Imprenta. Dedication. Epigraph. Introduction. Songs of the Cattle Trail and Cow Camp. Part I. Cowboy Yarns. Out Where the West Begins. The Shallows of the Ford. The Dance at Silver Valley. The Legend of Boastful Bill. The Texas Cowboy and the Mexican Greaser. Bronco versus Bicycle. Riders of the Stars. The Transformation of a Texas Girl. The Glory Trail. High Chin Bob. To Hear Him Tell It. The Clown's Baby. The Drunken Desperado. Of Jack's Grave. The Cattle Roundup. Part II. The Cowboy Off Guard. A Cowboy's Worrying Love. The Cowboy and the Maid. A Cowboy's Love Song. A Border Affair. Sal. Love Lyrics of a Cowboy. The Bull Fight. The Cowboy's Valentine. A Cowboy's Hopeless Love. The Chase. Riding Song. Our Little Cowgirl. I Want My Time. Who's That Calling So Sweet? Song of the Cattle Trail. A Cowboy's Son. A Cowboy's Song. A Nevada Cowpuncher to His Beloved. The Cowboy to His Friend in Need. When Bob Got Throwed. Cowboy versus Bronco. When You're Throwed. Pardners. The Bronc That Wouldn't Bust. The Cow Haws. The Bunkhouse Orchestra. The Cowboy's Dance Song. The Cowboy's Christmas Ball. A Dance at the Ranch. At a Cowboy Dance. The Cowboy's Ball. Part III. Cowboy Types. The Cowboy. Barzy on a Sunday Night. A Cowboy Race. The Habit. A Ranger. The Insult. The Road to Ruin. The Outlaw. The Desert. Whiskey Bill a Fragment. Denver Jim. The Vigilantes. The Bandit's Grave. The Old Trail. The Sheep Herder. A Cowboy at the Carnival. The Old Cowman. The Monster Route. The Call of the Plains. Where the Grizzly Dwells. A Cowboy Toast. Up the Rocky Trail from Town. The Disappointed Tenderfoot. A Cowboy Alone with His Conscience. Just A. The End of the Trail. Part I. Cowboy Yarns. Out Where the West Begins. The Shallows of the Ford. The Dance at Silver Valley. The Legend of Boastful Bill. The Texas Cowboy and the Mexican Greaser. Bronco versus Bicycle. Riders of the Stars. The Transformation of a Texas Girl. The Glory Trail. High Chin Bob. To Hear Him Tell It. The Clown's Baby. The Drunken Desperado. Of Jack's Grave. The Cattle Roundup. Out Where the West Begins. The Shallows of the Ford, The Dance at Silver Valley, The Legend of Boastful Bill, The Texas Cowboy and the Mexican Greaser, Bronco versus Bicycle, Riders of the Stars, The Transformation of a Texas Girl, The Glory Trail, High Chin Bob, To Hear Him Tell It, The Clown's Baby, The Drunken Desperado, Of Jack's Grave, The Cattle Roundup, Part II, The Cowboy Off Guard, A Cowboy's Worrying Love, The Cowboy and the Maid, A Cowboy's Love Song, A Border Affair, Sal, Love Lyrics of a Cowboy, The Bull Fight, The Cowboy's Valentine, A Cowboy's Hopeless Love, The Chase, Riding Song, Our Little Cowgirl, I Want My Time, Who's That Calling So Sweet, Song of the Cattle Trail, A Cowboy's Son, A Cowboy's Song, A Nevada Cowpuncher to His Beloved, The Cowboy to His Friend in Need, When Bob Got Throwed, Cowboy versus Bronco, When You're Throwed, Pardners, The Bronc That Wouldn't Bust, The Cow Haws, The Bunkhouse Orchestra, The Cowboy's Dance Song, The Cowboy's Christmas Ball, A Dance at the Ranch, At a Cowboy Dance, The Cowboy's Ball, A Cowboy's Worrying Love, The Cowboy and the Maid, A Cowboy's Love Song, A Border Affair, Sal, Love Lyrics of a Cowboy, The Bull Fight, The Cowboy's Valentine, A Cowboy's Hopeless Love, The Chase, Riding Song, Our Little Cowgirl, I Want My Time, Who's That Calling So Sweet, Song of the Cattle Trail, A Cowboy's Son, A Cowboy Song, A Nevada Cowpuncher to His Beloved, The Cowboy to His Friend in Need, When Bob Got Throwed, Cowboy versus Bronco, When You're Throwed, Pardners, The Bronc That Wouldn't Bust, The Cow Haws, The Bunkhouse Orchestra, The Cowboy's Dance Song, The Cowboy's Christmas Ball, A Dance at the Ranch, At a Cowboy Dance, The Cowboy's Ball, Part III, Cowboy Types, The Cowboy, Barzy on a Sunday Night, A Cowboy Race, The Habit, A Ranger, The Insult, The Road to Ruin, The Outlaw, The Desert, Whiskey Bill a Fragment, Denver Jim, The Vigilantes, The Bandit's Grave, The Old Trail, The Sheep Herder, A Cowboy at the Carnival, The Old Cowman, The Monster Route, The Call of the Plains, Where the Grizzly Dwells, A Cowboy Toast, Up the Rocky Trail from Town, The Disappointed Tenderfoot, A Cowboy Alone with His Conscience, Just A, The End of the Trail, The Cowboy, Barzy on a Sunday Night, A Cowboy Race, The Habit, A Ranger, The Insult, The Road to Ruin, The Outlaw, The Desert, Whiskey Bill a Fragment, Denver Jim, The Vigilantes, The Bandit's Grave, The Old Trail, The Sheep Herder, A Cowboy at the Carnival, The Old Cowman, The Monster Route, The Call of the Plains, Where the Grizzly Dwells, A Cowboy Toast, Up the Rocky Trail from Town, The Disappointed Tenderfoot, A Cowboy Alone with His Conscience, Just A, The End of the Trail, End Notes, Colophon, Landmarks, Songs of the Cattle Trail and Cow Camp. End notes. Songs of the Cattle Trail and Cow Camp, John A. Colifin. Songs of the Cattle Trail and Cow Camp was published in 1919 by John A. This was produced for Standard by, and is based on a transcription produced in 2007 by David Edwards, Joe, and distributed proofreaders for Project and on digital scans from the Internet Archive. The cover page is adapted from The Covered Wagon, a painting completed in 1921 by. The cover and title pages feature the League Spartan and Sorts Mill typefaces created in 2014 and 2009 by The Leg of Type. This edition was released on April 11, 2026, 9:22 a.m. and is based on revision 40-1646 bead. The first edition of this was released on June 16, 2025, 7:36 p.m. You can check for updates to this, view its revision history, or download it for different systems at org.john, a Songs of the Cattle Trail and Cow Camp. The volunteer-driven Standard project relies on readers like you to submit typos, corrections, and other improvements. Anyone can contribute at .org. That these dear friends I leave behind may keep kind hearts, remembrance of the love we had. In affectionate gratitude to a group of men, my intimate friends during college days brought under one roof by a fraternity, whom I still love not less but more. Will, Hardy, and Harry of precious and joyous memory. Will, Hardy, and Harry of precious and joyous memory. Norman Crozier, not yet quite emerged from Presbyterianism. Norman Crozier, not yet quite emerged from Presbyterianism. Eugene Barker, cynical, solid, unafraid. Eugene Barker, cynical, solid, unafraid. N. A gentleman of Virginia saw. N. A gentleman of Virginia saw. Ede Miller, red-headed and royal-hearted. Ede Miller, red-headed and royal-hearted. Bates Mack, calm and competent without camouflage. Bates Mack, calm and competent without camouflage. Haven, who has put him over every good day since. Haven, who has put him over every good day since. Charlie Johnson, the Swede, the richest and dearest of the bunch. Charlie Johnson, the Swede, the richest and dearest of the bunch. Edgar, whose loyal devotion and pertinacious energy built the frat house. Edgar, whose loyal devotion and pertinacious energy built the frat house. Roy, too big for any job he has yet tackled. Roy, too big for any job he has yet tackled. Who possesses all the virtues of the old-time cattleman and none of the vices of the new. Who possesses all the virtues of the old-time cattleman and none of the vices of the new. Roams the quiet and canny counter of coin. Roams the quiet and canny counter of coin. Hunt, student and lover of all things beautiful. Hunt, student and lover of all things beautiful. Dick the soldier, every inch of him a handsome man. Dick the soldier, every inch of him a handsome man. Alexon and Dave and George and Freshman and Clarence, the 6 freshmen we took in, while Mac, Alfred Pierce Ward, and Guy and Charlie were still in the process of assimilation. Alexon and Dave and George and Freshman and Clarence, the 6 freshmen we took in, while Mac, Alfred Pierce Ward, and Guy and Charlie were still in the process of assimilation to this group of God's good fellows, I dedicate this little book. End notes. Pronounced by the natives Muggians. Pronounced by the natives Muggians. A famous saloon in West Texas carried this unusual sign. A famous saloon in West Texas carried this unusual sign. Only such cowboys as are in desperate need of employment ever become. Only such cowboys as are in desperate need of employment ever become. Fox is a Indian who sent me a lot of verse. Although he had never heard of Whitman, these stanzas suggest that poet. The spelling and punctuation are mine. Fox is a Indian who sent me a lot of verse. Although he had never heard of Whitman, these stanzas suggest that poet. The spelling and punctuation are mine. This fragment is not included in Mr. Clark's poem. This fragment is not included in Mr. Clark's poem. No loopholes now are framing lean faces, grim and brown, no more keen eyes are aiming to bring the redskin down. but every wind careening seems here to breathe a song of brave careering, a saga of the strong. Songs of the Cattle Trail and Cow Camp. Imprenta. This is the product of many hours of hard work by volunteers for Standard, and builds on the hard work of other literature lovers made possible by the public domain. This particular is based on a transcription from Project and on digital scans from the Internet Archive. The source text and artwork in this are believed to be in the United States public domain. That is, they are believed to be free of copyright restrictions in the United States. They may still be copyrighted in other countries, so users located outside of the United States must check their local laws before using this. The creators of and contributors to this dedicate their contributions to the worldwide public domain via the terms in the CC01 Universal Public Domain Dedication. For full license information, see the at the end of this. Standard is a volunteer-driven project that produces editions of public domain literature using modern typography, technology, and editorial standards, and distributes them free of cost. You can download this and other carefully produced for true book lovers at .org. Introduction. Look down, that weary road, 'tis the road that the sun goes down. 'Twas way out west where the antelope roam and the coyote howls round the cowboy's home, where the mountains are covered with chaparral frail and the valleys are checkered with the cattle trail, where the miner digs for the golden veins and the cowboy rides o'er the silent plains. The Songs of the Cattle Trail and Cow Camp does not purport to be an anthology of Western verse. As its title indicates, the contents of the book are limited to attempts, more or less poetic, in translating scenes connected with the life of a cowboy. The volume is in reality a byproduct of my earlier collection, Cowboy Songs and Other Frontier Ballads. In the former book, I put together what seemed to me to be the best of the songs created and sung by the cowboys as they went about their work. In making the collection, the cowboys often sang or sent to me songs which I recognized as having already been in print, although the singer usually said that some other cowboy had sung the song to him and that he did not know where it had originated. For example, one night in New Mexico, a cowboy sang to me in typical cowboy music, "S'entire Cowboy's Christmas Ball." Since that time, the poem has often come to me in manuscript form as an original cowboy song. The changes usually, it must be confessed, resulting in bettering the verse which have occurred in oral transmission, are most interesting. Of one example, Charles Badger Clark's High Chin Bob, I have printed following Mr. Clark's poem, a cowboy version, which I submit to Mr. Clark and his admirers for their consideration. In making selections for this volume from a large mass of material that came into my ballad hopper while hunting cowboy songs as a traveling fellow from university, I have included the best of the verse given me directly by the cowboys. Other selections have come in through repeated recommendation of these men. Others are vagrant verses from Western newspapers, and still others have been lifted from collections of Western verse written by such men as Charles Badger Clark and H. To these two authors, as well as others who have permitted me to make use of their work, the grateful thanks of the collector are extended. As will be seen, almost one half of the selections have no assignable authorship. I am equally grateful to these unknown authors. All those who found cowboy songs diverting, it is believed, will make welcome the songs of the cattle trail and cow camp. Many of these have this claim to be called songs. They have been set to music by the cowboys, who, in their isolation and loneliness, have found solace in narrative or descriptive verse devoted to cattle scenes. Herein, again, through these quondam songs, we may come to appreciate something of the spirit of the Big West, its largeness, its freedom, its wholehearted hospitality, its genuine friendship. Here again, too, we may see the cowboy at work and at play, hear the jingle of his big bell spurs, the swish of his rope, the creaking of his saddle gear, the thud of thousands of hoofs on the long, long trail winding from Texas to Montana, and know something of the life that attracted from the East some of its best young blood to a work that was necessary in the winning of the West. The trails are becoming dust-covered or grass-grown or lost underneath the farmer's furrow, but in the selections of this volume, many of them poems by courtesy, men of today and those who are to follow may sense, at least in some small measure, the service, the glamour, the romance of that knight-errant of the plains, the American cowboy. J.A.L. The University of Texas, Austin, July 9, 1919. Part I. Cowboy Yarns. The centipede runs across my head, the crawls in my bed and tarantulas jump and scorpions play, the broncs are grazing far away, the rattlesnake gives his warning cry and the coyotes sing their lullaby while I sleep soundly beneath the sky. Out where the west begins. Out where the hand clasps a little stronger, out where the smile dwells a little longer, that's where the west begins, out where the sun is a little brighter, where the snows that fall are a trifle, where the bonds of home are a wee bit, that's where the west begins. Out where the skies are a trifle bluer, out where friendship's a little truer, that's where the west begins, out where a fresher breeze is blowing, where there's laughter in every streamlet flowing, where there's more of reaping and less of sowing, that's where the west begins. Out where the world is in the making, where fewer hearts in despair are aching, that's where the west begins, where there's more of singing and less of sighing, where there's more of giving and less of buying, and a man makes friends without half trying, that's where the west begins. Arthur Chapman. The Shallows of the Ford. Did you ever wait for daylight when the stars along the river floated thick and white as snowflakes in the water deep, and strange till a whisper through the aspens made the current break and shiver as the frosty edge of morning seemed to melt and spread and change? Once I waited, almost wishing that the dawn would never find me, saw the sun roll up the ranges like the glory of the Lord, was about to wake my partner who was sleeping close behind me, when I saw the man we wanted spur his pony to the ford. Saw the ripples of the shallows and the muddy streaks that followed, as the pony stumbled toward me in the narrows of the bend, saw the face I used to welcome, wild and watchful, lined and hollowed, and God knows I wished to warn him, for I once had called him friend. But an oath had come between us I was paid by law and order. He was outlaw, rustler, killer, so the border whisper ran left his word in that he'd cross the border, call me coward. But I hailed him riding close to Daylight Dan. Just a hair and he'd have got me, but my voice and not the warning caught his hand and held him steady. Then he nodded, spoke my name, reined his pony round and fanned it in the bright and silent morning, back across the sunlit, up the trail on which he came. He had passed his word to cross it, I had passed my word to get him, we broke even and we knew it. 'Twas a case of give and take for old times. I could have killed him from the brush. Instead, I let him ride his trail, I turned my partner, flung his arm and stretched awake. Saw me standing in the open, pulled his gun and came beside me, asked a question with his shoulder, as his left hand pointed toward muddy streaks that thinned and vanished not a word, but hard he eyed me as the water cleared and sparkled in the shallows of the ford. Henry. The dance at Silver Valley. Don't you hear the big spurs jingle? Don't you feel the red blood tingle? Be it smile or be it frown, be it dance or be it fight, Bronco Bill has come to town to dance a dance tonight. Chaps, sombrero, handkerchief, silver spurs at heel, hello. And hello, Pete. How do you think you feel? Drinks are mine. Come fall in, boys, crowd up on the right. Here's happy days and honey joys. I'm going to dance tonight. On his hip in leathern tube, a case of dark blue steel. Bill the Bronco Buster from the ranch at Beaver Bend, 90 steers and but one life in his hands to spend, ready for a fight or spree, ready for a race, going blind with bridle loose every inch of space. Down at Johnny's place, see them trooping in, up above the women laugh, down below is gin. Belle is dressed in blue, ribbon in her hair, Bronco Bill is shaved and slick, all his throat is bare. Round and round with Belle he whirls a dizzy spin. Jim, the gambler, waits white his hands and slim. Bill whispers, Belle, you know it well, it is me or him. Jim, so help me God, if you dance with Belle it is either you or me must travel down to hell. Jim put his arm around her waist, her graceful waist and slim. Don't you hear the banjo laugh? Hear the fiddles scream? Bronco Bill leaned at the door, watched the twirling stream. 20 fiends were at his heart snarling, kill him sure. Out of hell that woman came. I love you, Belle. Bronco Bill, he laughed and chewed, and careless he did seem. The dance is done. Shots crack as one. The crowd shoves for the door. Bronco Bill is lying there, and blood upon the floor. You've finished me, you've gambler's luck, you've won the trick and Belle. Mine the soul that here tonight is passing down to hell. And I must ride the trail alone. Goodbye to Belle. Downstairs on the cloth, something lying white, upstairs still the dance goes on, all the lamps are bright. Round and round and merry spin on the floor a blot, laugh, and chaff and merry spins such a little spot. Bronco Bill has come to town and danced his dance tonight. Don't you hear the fiddle shrieking? Don't you hear the banjo speaking? Don't you hear the big spurs jingle? Don't you feel the red blood tingle? Faces dyed with desert brown, one that's set in white. Bronco Bill has come to town and danced his dance tonight. William Maxwell, the legend of Boastful Bill. At a roundup on the one sweet morning long ago, 10 of us was throwed quite freely by a hoss from Idaho. And we loaded go for a man to break his pride till up one Boastful Bill cut loose and cried, I'm a ornery proposition for to hurt, I my earthly mission with a quirt, I can ride the highest liver, the Gulf and Powder River, and I'll break this thing as easy as I'd flirt. So Bill climbed the northern fury, and they mangled up the air, till a native of Missouri would have owned the brag was fair. Though the plunges kept him, and the wind it flapped his shirt loud above the hosses, we could hear our friend assert, I'm the one to take such as a joke, someone hand me up this of a smoke. If you think my fame needs, why I'll rope a streak and spur it up and quirt it till it's broke. Then one caper of repulsion broke that hoss's back in two, cinches snapped in the convulsion, skyward man and saddle flew, up they mounted, never, and we watched them through our tears while this last thin bit came to our ears. If you ever watched my habits very close, you would know I broke such rabbits by the gross. I have kept my talent, I'm too good for earthly, so I'm off to bust the. Years have passed since that ascension, Boastful Bill ain't never lit, so we reckon he's a some celestial outlaw's bit. When the night wind flaps our slickers, and the rain is cold and stout, and the flares and flickers, we can sometimes hear him shout, I'm a son o' thunder o' the sky, I'm a bronco, wonder on the fly. Hey you, shut your winders, we're a clouds to flinders. If this blue-eyed kicks at you, you die. Stardust on his chaps and saddle, scornful still of jar and jolt, he'll come back sometime astraddle of a bald-faced thunderbolt, and the thin-skinned generation of that dim and distant day sure will stare with admiration when they hear old Boastful say, I was first, as old rawhiders all, I'm the last of all rough riders and the best. Huh, you soft and dainty floaters with your aeroplanes and motors, huh. Are you the of the West? From Recitation, original by Charles Badger Clark. The Texas Cowboy and the Mexican Greaser. I think we can all remember when a greaser hadn't no show in Pinto particular, it ain't very long ago, a powerful, of hatred and the whole greaser race that murdered bold and Bowie pervaded all in the place. Why the boys would draw on a greaser as quick as they would on a steer, they was shot down without often, in the memory of many here. One day the bark of pistols was heard out in the air, and a greaser, chased by some ranchmen, tore round here into the square. I don't know what he's committed, likely anyone knew, but I wouldn't bet a check on the issue. If you knew the gang, neither would you. Breathless and bleeding, the greaser fell down by the side of the wall, and a man sprang out before him, a man both strong and tall. By his clothes, I should say a cowboy, a stranger in town, I think. With his pistol he waved back the gang, who was wild with rage and drink. I warn ye, get back, he said, or I'll blow your heads in two. A dozen on one poor creature, and him wounded and bleeding too. The gang stood back for a minute, then up spoke Poker Bill, young man, you're a stranger, I reckon. We don't wish her any ill, but come out of the range of the greaser, or, as sure as I live, you'll croak, and he drew a bead on the stranger. I'll tell yer it no joke. But the stranger no muscle as he looked in the bore of Bill's gun. He hadn't no thought to stir, sir. He hadn't no thought to run, but he spoke out cool and quiet. I might live for 1,000 year and not die at last so nobly as this greaser here, for he's wounded now and helpless, and hasn't had no fair show, and the first of you boys that strikes him, I'll lay that first one low. The gang respected the stranger that for another was willing to die. They respected the look of daring they saw in that cold, blue eye. They saw before them a hero that was glad in the right to fall, and he was a Texas cowboy never heard of Rome at all. Don't tell me of your Romans or your bridge held by 3, true manhood's the same in Texas as it was in Rome, E.C. Did the greaser escape? Why, certain. I saw the whole crowd over at the ranch of Bill the Gopher, with their glasses over the bar. From Recitation. Anonymous. Bronco versus Bicycle. The first that we saw of the high-toned tramp wore over at our camp. He wore down the trail astride of a wheel with a crooked tail, along with a merry song and a little gong. He looked so outlandish, strange, and queer that all of us grinned from ear to ear, and every boy on the roundup swore he never seed a hoss before. Up he rode with a sunshine smile and a cigarette, and I'll be kicked in the neck if I ever seen a saddle as that on his queer machine. Why, it made us laugh, for it wasn't half big enough for the back of a calf. He are fun in a way, only wants to say wasn't a bronco about the place could down that wheel in a 10-mile race. I'd a bronco out in the herd that could split the air like a bird, and I hinted round in an offhand way that the enterprise would pay. I thought as I might happen to light on a hoss that would leave him out sight. In a second we seen him yank a roll o' greenbacks out o' his flank, and he said if we wanted to bet, to name the limit, and he would tackle the game. A week before we had all been down on a jamboree to the nearest town, and the whiskey joints and the faro games and our hoofs with the dance hall dames made a wholesale bust, and pard, I'll be cussed if a man in the outfit had any dust. And so I explained, but the youth replied that he'd lay the money matter aside, and to show that his back didn't grow no moss he'd bet his machine against my hoss. I him up and the bet war closed, and me a fur I supposed I wore in dead sure, luck in the softest snap I had ever struck. And the boys chipped in with a grin fur, they thought the fool had no chance to win. And so we agreed fur to run that day to the Navajo Cross, 10 miles away, as handsome a track as you ever seed fur, a hoss's prettiest speed. Apache Johnson and Texas End saddled up their hosses and rode ahead to station themselves 10 miles away and act as judges and see fair play, while Mexican Bart and Big Jim Hart stayed back fur to give us an even start. I got aboard of my bronco bird, and we came to the scratch and got the word, and I laughed till my mouth spread from ear to ear to see that tenderfoot drop to the rear. The first 3 miles slipped away first rate, then Bronc began fur to lose his gait. But Eisen didn't mind with tenderfoot a mile behind. So I jogged along with a cowboy song till all of a sudden I heard that gong in my ear, ting, 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 too infernal near, and backwards I seen that chump of a tenderfoot every jump. I hit old Bronc a cut with the quirt and once more got him to dirt, but his wind got weak, and I tell you, boss, I seen he wasn't no 10-mile hoss. Still, the plucky brute took another shoot and pulled away from the wheel galoot. But the animal couldn't hold his gait, and the idea somehow entered my pate that if Tenderfoot's legs didn't lose their grip he'd own that hoss at the end of the trip. Closer and closer come Tenderfoot, and harder the whip to the hoss I put, but the eastern cuss, with a smile on his face, ran up to my side with his easy pace, rode up to my side, and his hide remarked a pleasant day for a ride, then axed if I had a match, and on his breeches give it a scratch, lit a cigarette, said he wished me good day, and as fresh as a daisy scooted away. Ahead he went, that infernal gong good day, as he flew along, and the smoke from his cigarette came back like a vaporous snicker along his track. On and on he sped, further ahead, his feet up that tread, till he faded away in the distance, and when I seed the condemned eastern rooster again, he wore with the boys at the end of the race that same smile on his face. Now, pard, when a cowboy gets licked he don't nor kick. If thee are done on the so, I tucked that easterner right by the hand and told him that Bronco awaited his brand. Then I asked him his name and where from he came, and how long he'd practiced that wheel game. Tom Stevens, he said, wore his name, and he come from a town they call in Old Yankeedom. Then he paralyzed us by he'd whirled that very identical wheel round the world. Pard, that's the story of how that smart chap done me up, and I thought I had a soft snap, done me up on a race with remarkable ease, and lowered my pride a good many degrees. Did I give him the hoss? Oh, course I did, boss, and I tell you it no diminutive loss. He writ me a letter from back in the East, and said he presented the neat little beast to a feller named Pope, who stands at the head o' the ranch where the cussed wheel hosses are bred. Anonymous. Riders of the Stars. 20 abreast down the Golden Street, 10,000 riders marched, bow-legged boys in their swinging chaps, all clumsily keeping time, and the angel host to the lone, last ghost their delicate eyebrows arched as the swaggering sons of the open range drew up to the throne sublime. Gaunt and grizzled, a Texas man from out of the concourse strode and doffed his hat with a rude, rough grace, then lifted his eagle head, the sunlit air on his silvered hair and the bronze of his visage glowed. The boys have a talk to make on the things up here, he said. A hush ran over the waiting throng as the cherubim replied, He that the hearts of men he your challenge strange, though he long hath known that ye crave your own, that ye would not walk but ride, O restless sons of the ancient earth, ye men of the open range. Then warily spake the Texas man, "A petition and no complaint we here present, if the law allows and the he thinks it fit. We all agree to the things that be, but we're longing for things that ain't. So we took a vote and we made a plan, and here is the plan we writ. Give us a range and our horses and ropes, open the pearly gate, and turn us loose in the unfenced blue, riding the sunset rounds, hunting each stray in the Milky Way and running the rancho straight. Not crowding the dogie stars too much on their way to the bedding grounds. Maverick comets that's running wild, we'll rope 'em and brand 'em fair, so they'll quit stampeding the starry herd and scaring the folks below, and we'll save 'em prime for the roundup time, and we'll all be there, ready and willing to do our work as we did in the long ago. We've studied the ancient landmarks, sir, Taurus, the Bear, and Mars, and Venus a-smiling across the west as bright as a burning coal, plain to guide as we punchers ride night-herding the little stars, with Saturn's rings for our home corral and the Dipper our water hole. Here we have nothing to do but yarn of the days that have long gone by, and our singing it doesn't fit in up here, though we tried it for old time's sake. Our hands are itching to swing a rope and our legs are stiff. That's why we ask you, to turn us loose, just give us an even break." Then the Lord he spake to the cherubim, and this was his kindly word: "He that the threefold keys shall open, and let them go turn these men to their work again, to ride with the starry herd. My glory sings in the toil they crave, 'tis their right. I would have it so. Have you heard in the starlit dusk of eve, when the lone coyotes roam, the yip, yippo, yippo, of a hunting cry, and the echo that shrilled afar, as you listened still on a desert hill and gazed at the twinkling dome, and a viewless rider swept the sky on the trail of a shooting star? Henry, I want free life, and I want fresh air, and I sigh for the canter after the cattle, the crack of the whips like shots in battle, the medley of hoofs and horns and heads that wars and wrangles and scatters and spreads, the green beneath and the blue above, and dash and danger and life and love. And used to ride on a mouse Mustang close to my side, with blue serape and bright-belled spur. I laughed with joy as I looked at her. Little knew she of books or creeds, and Ave Maria sufficed her needs. Little she cared save to be at my side, to ride with me, and ever to ride from San Saba's shore to tide. She was as bold as the billows that beat, she was as wild as the breezes that blow. From her little head to her little feet she was swayed in her suppleness to and fro by each gust of passion. A sapling pine that grows on the edge of a Kansas bluff and wars with the wind when the weather is rough is like this love of mine. She would hunger that I might eat, would take the bitter and leave me the sweet. But once, when I made her jealous for fun at something I whispered or looked or done, one Sunday, in sand to a glorious girl in the Alamo, she drew from her garter a little dagger, and sting of a wasp it made me stagger. An inch to the left or an inch to the right, and I shouldn't be maundering here tonight, but she sobbed, and sobbing, so quickly bound her torn about the wound that I swiftly forgave her. Scratches don't count in Texas, down by the. Her eye was brown, a deep, deep brown, her hair was darker than her eye, and something in her smile and frown, curled crimson lip and instep high, showed that there ran in each blue vein, mixed with the milder Aztec strain, the vigorous vintage of old Spain. She was alive in every limb with feeling, to the fingertips, and when the sun is like a fire, and sky one shining, soft sapphire one does not drink in little sips. The air was heavy, the night was hot, I sat by her side and forgot the herd that were taking their rest, forgot that the air was close oppressed, that the Texas norther comes sudden and soon, in the dead of the night or the blaze of the noon, that, once let the herd at its breath take fright, nothing on earth can stop their flight, and woe to the rider and woe to the steed that falls in front of their mad stampede. Was that thunder? I grasped the cord of my swift Mustang without a word. I sprang to the saddle, and she clung behind. Away, on a hot chase down the wind. But never was fox hunt half so hard, and never was steed so little spared. For we rode for our lives. You shall hear how we fared in Texas, down by the. The Mustang flew, and we urged him on. There was one chance left, and you have but halt, jump to the ground, and shoot your horse, crouch under his carcass, and take your chance. And if the steers in their frantic course don't batter you both to pieces at once, you may thank your star. If not, goodbye to the quickening kiss and the long-drawn sigh, and the open air and the open sky in Texas, down by the. The cattle gained on us, and just as I felt for my old six-shooter behind in my belt, down came the Mustang, and down came we, clinging together, and what was the rest? A body that spread itself on my breast, 2 arms that shielded my dizzy head, 2 lips that hard to my lips were pressed. Then came thunder in my ears, as over us surged the sea of steers, blows that beat blood into my eyes, and when I could rise was dead. I gouged out a grave a few feet deep, and there in the earth's arms I laid her to sleep, and there she is lying, and no one knows, and the summer shines, and the winter snows, for many a day the flowers have spread a pall of petals over her head, and the little hawk hangs aloft in the air, and the sly coyote trots here and there, and the black snake glides and glitters and slides into the rift of a cottonwood tree, and the buzzard sails on, and comes and is gone stately and still, like a ship at sea. And I wonder why I do not care for the things that are, like the things that were. Does half my heart lie buried there in Texas, down by the Frank, the transformation of a Texas girl. She was a Texas maiden, she came of low degree, her clothes were worn and faded, her feet from shoes were free, her face was tanned and freckled, her hair was sunburned, too, her whole darned tout ensemble was painful for to view. She drove a lop-eared mule team attached unto a plow, the trickling perspiration exuding from her brow, and often she lamented her cruel, cruel fate, as but a White's daughter down in the Lone Star State. No courtiers came to woo her, she never had a beau, her misfit face precluded such things as that, you know she was nobody's darling, no feller's solid girl, and poets never called her an uncut Texas pearl. Her only two companions was those two flea-bit mules, and these she but regarded as animated tools to plod along the furrows in patience up and down, and pull the ancient wagon when go to town. No fires of wild ambition were flaming in her soul, her eyes with tender passion she'd never upward roll, the wondrous world she'd heard of, to her was but a dream as walked she in the furrows behind that lop-eared team. Born on that small plantation, 'twas there she thought she'd die, she never longed for pinions that she might rise and fly to other lands far distant, where breezes fresh and cool would never shake and tremble from brayings of a mule. But yesterday we saw her dressed up in gorgeous style. Half a dozen fellows were basking in her smile. She'd jewels on her fingers and jewels in her ears, great sparkling, flashing brilliance that hung as frozen tears. The feet once nude and soul-stained were clad in Frenchy boots, the once tanned face bore tintings of miscellaneous fruits, the voice that once admonished the mules to move along was tuned to newborn music, as sweet as siren's song. Her tall and lanky father, one knows as Sleepy Jim, is now addressed as Colonel by men who honor him, and youths in finest raiment now take him by the paw, each in the hope that some day he'll call him dad-in-law. Their days of toil are over, their sun has risen at last, a gold-embroidered curtain now hides their rocky past, for was it not discovered their little patch of soil had rested there for ages above a flow of oil. James Barton Adams. The Glory Trail. Way high up the one among the mountain tops, a lion cleaned his bones and licked his thankful chops, when on the picture who should ride, adown the slope, but high-chin Bob, with sinful pride and ick-hungry rope. Oh, glory be to me, says he, and fame, flowers. All hands are far away, I ride my good top paws today, and I'm top rope of the lazy J high. Kitty cat, you're ours. That lion licked his paw so brown and dreamed soft dreams of veal, and then the loop sung down and roped him round his meal. He yelled quick fury to the world till all the hills yelled back, the top paws gave a snort and whirled, and Bob caught up the slack. Oh, glory be to me, laughs he. We hit the glory trail. No human man as I have read loop a lion's head, nor ever haws could drag one dead until we told the tale. Way high up that top haw's done his best through brush and stones from canyon floor to crest, but ever when Bob turned and hoped a limp remains to find, a red-eyed lion, belly roped but healthy, loped behind. Oh, glory be to me, grunts he, this glory trail is rough, yet even till the judgment morn I'll keep this dally round the horn, for never any hero born could stoop to holler, "Nuff." 3 sons had rode their circle home beyond the desert's rim, and turned their star herds loose to roam the ranges high and dim, yet up and down and round, and cross Bob pounded, weak and wan, for pride still glued him to his haws, and glory drove him on. Oh, glory be to me, sighs he. He be drugged to death, but now I know beyond a doubt them heroes I have read about was only fools that stuck it out to end of mortal breath. Way high up the prospect man did swear that moon dreams melted down his bones and hoisted up his hair, a ribby cowhaws thundered by, a lion trailed along, a rider but chin on high yelled out a crazy song. Oh, glory be to me, cries he, and to my noble noose. O stranger, tell my pards below I took a dream in tow, and if I never lay him low, I'll never turn him loose. Charles Badger Clark. High chin Bob. Way high up among the mountain tops, a lion cleaned a yearling's bones and licks his thankful chops, and who upon the scene should ride adown the slope, but high-chin Bob of sinful pride and maverick-hungry rope. "Oh, glory be to me," says he, "and fame's flowers. I ride my good top hoss today, and I'm top hand of Lazy J, so kitty cat your hours." The lion licked his paws so brown, and dreamed soft dreams of veal, as High Chin's rope came down and roped him round his meal. She yelled quick fury to the world, and all the hills yelled back. That top horse gave a snort and whirled, and Bob took up the slack. "Oh, glory be to me," says he, "we'll hit the glory trail. No man has looped a lion's head, and lived to drag the critter dead, till I shall tell the tale." Way high up into that top hoss done his best, mid brush and stones from cannon floor to crest, up and down and round and cross Bob pounded weak and wan, but pride still glued him to his hoss, and glory spurred him on. "Oh, glory be to me," says he, "this glory trail is rough, but I'll keep this dally round the horn, until the toot of judgment morn before I'll holler." 3 sons had rode their circle home, beyond the desert rim, and turned their star herds loose to roam the ranges high and dim. And whenever Bob turned and hoped the limp remains to find, a red-eyed lion, belly roped but healthy, loped behind. "Oh, glory be to me," says Bob, "he be drugged to death. These heroes that I've read about were only fools that stuck it out to the end of mortal breath." Way high up in the, if you ever camp there at night, you'll hear among the stones that'll lift your hair with fright. You'll see a cow-hoss thunder by a lion trail along, and the rider bold with his chin on high sings forth his glory song. "Oh, glory be to me," says he, "and to my mighty noose. Oh, pardner, tell my friends below I took a dream in tow, and if I didn't lay him low, I never turned him loose." From oral rendition. To hear him tell it. I was just about to take a drink. I was mighty dry, so I hailed an old-time cowman who was passing by. "Come in, old-timer. Have a drink. Kinda warm today." As we leaned across the bar rail, "How's things up your way?" "Stock is fairly good, range is fine. I dropped down to here to spend a little time. Cons stuff and now, cows and hosses, too, prices high and a big demand, now I'm tellin' you. I've loaded out my feeders, got a good price all, sold 'em in Kansas City to a commission man named Brown. 1,000 told, oh, mixed stuff, in pretty fair shape too," said the old Texas cowman, "now I'm tellin' you. I've been in this country since late in '59, I know every foot sage brush clear to the southern line. Got my first bunch started up long in '72, had to ride range with a long rope, now I'm tellin' you. Lordy, I kin remember them good old early days when we trail the herds north, and 40 different ways. Point 'em from the and let 'em drift right through," said the reminiscent cowman, "now I'm tellin' you. Yes, sir, trailed 'em up to Wichita, crossed the Kansas line, made deliveries at Benton as early as '59. Turned 'em most to soldiers, some went to Injuns, too. Beef wasn't nigh so high then, now I'm tellin' you. Son, I've fit nigh every Injun that ever roamed the plains, and I was one o' the best hands that ever pulled bridle reins. Why, you boys don't know range life, you don't seem to get the ways, like we did down in Texas in them good early days. Yes, things a heap sight now, like in them days when trailed their herds north and 40 ways. We ship 'em on the railroad now, load out on the big SP, says the relic of Texas cowman as he takes a drink with me. I on more feeders from down across the line, Chihuahua and Sonora stuff, and hold 'em till they're prime. So here's to the steers and, as we clink our glasses too, things ain't the same as they used to be, now I'm tellin' you. I got tea get out and hustle, I ain't got time tea stay, want tea see some other boys and then I'm on my way. There's many a hand here right now that I long ago, when ranch land was free and open and the plowman had a show. Often we get together to swap yarns and tell our lies, said the old-time Texas cowman as a mist comes to his eyes. So let's drink up, here's how. As we drain our glasses too, them was good days and good ways, now I'm tellin' you. He talked and yarned away, he harped on days of yore, my head it ached and I grew faint, my legs got tired and sore. Then a woman yelled, "You come here, John." And lordy, how he flew. And the last I heard as he broke and ran was, "Now I'm tellin' you. I won't never hail old-timers to have a drink with me, to learn the history of the range as far back as '73. And the next time that I'm thirsty and feeling kind of blue, I'll step right up and drink alone, now I'm tellin' you. From the wild bunch. The clown's baby. It was on the western frontier. The miners, rugged and brown, were gathered round the posters. The circus had come to town. The great tent shone in the darkness like a wonderful palace of light, and rough men crowded the entrance. Shows didn't come every night. Not a woman's face among them, many a face that was bad, and some that were only vacant, and some that were very sad. And behind a canvas curtain, in a corner of the place, the clown with chalk and was making up his face. A weary-looking woman with a smile that still was sweet sewed on a little garment, with a cradle at her feet. Pantaloon stood ready and waiting. It was time for the going on, but the clown in vain searched wildly. The property baby was gone. He murmured, impatiently hunting, "It's strange that I cannot find. There, I've looked in every corner. It must have been left behind." The miners were stamping and shouting. They were not patient men. The clown bent over the cradle. "I must take you, little Ben." The mother started and shivered, but trouble and want were near. She lifted the baby gently. "You'll be very careful, dear." "Careful, you foolish darling." How tenderly it was said. What a smile shone through the chalk and paint. "I love each hair of his head." The noise rose into an uproar. Misrule for the time was king. The clown with a foolish chuckle bolted into the ring. But as, with a squeak and flourish, the fiddles closed their tune, "You'll hold him as if he were made of glass," said the clown to the pantaloon. The jovial fellow nodded. "I've a couple myself," he said. "I know how to handle 'em, bless you. Old fellow, go ahead." The fun grew fast and furious, and not one of all the crowd had guessed that the baby was alive, when he suddenly laughed aloud. Oh, that baby laughs! It was echoed from the benches with a ring, and the roughest customer there sprang up with, "Boys, it's the real thing." The ring was jammed in a minute. Not a man that did not strive for a shot at holding the baby that was alive. He was thronged with kneeling suitors in the midst of the dusty ring, and he held his court right royally, the fair little baby king, till one of the shouting courtiers, a man with a bold, hard face, the talk for miles of the country and the terror of the place, raised the little king to his shoulder and chuckled, "Look at that." As the chubby fingers clutched his hair, then, "Boys, hand round the hat." There never was such a hatful of silver and gold and notes. People are not always penniless because they don't wear coats. And then 3 cheers for the baby. I tell you those cheers were meant, and the way that they were given was enough to raise the tent. And then there was sudden silence, and a gruff old miner said, "Come, boys, enough of this rumpus. It's time it was put to bed." So, looking a little sheepish, but with faces strangely bright, the audience, somewhat lingering, flocked out into the night. And the bold-faced leader chuckled. He wasn't a bit afraid. "He's as game as he's good-looking." Boys, that was a show that paid. The drunken desperado. I'm wild and woolly and full of fleas. I'm hard to curry below the knees. I'm a she-wolf from creek, for I was dropped from a lightning streak, and it's my night to hollow pea. I stayed in Texas till they me out, then in Bullfrog they chased me about. I walked a little and rode some more, for I've shot up a town before, and it's my night to hollow pea. Give me room and turn me loose, I'm peaceable, without excuse. I never killed for profit or fun, but riled, I'm a regular son of a gun, and it's my night to hollow pea. Good-eye Jim will serve the crowd, the rule goes here, no, load. And we'll drink now the Nixon kid, for I rode to town and lifted the lid, and it's my night to hollow pea. You can guess how quick a man must be, for I killed 11 and wounded 3, and brothers and daddies aren't a sound, though they know where the kid is found, and it's my night to hollow pea. When I get old and my aim true, and it's 3-1 and wounded 2, I won't beg and claw the ground, for I'll be dead before I'm found when it's my night to hollow pea. Boyd, I shot him where the flows, I shot him when the moon arose, and, where he lies the vulture knows, along the river. In schools of Eastern culture pale, my cloistered flesh began to fail. They bore me where the deserts quail to winds from out the sun. I looked upon the land and sky, nor hoped to live nor feared to die, and from my hollow breast a sigh fell o'er the burning waste. But strong I grew, and tall I grew, I drank the region's balm and dew. It made me lithe in limb and thew, how swift I rode and ran. And oft it was my joy to ride over the sand-blown ocean wide, while, ever smiling at my side, rode of A flood of horned heads before the trampled thunder, smoke and roar, of full 4,000 hoofs or more, a cloud, a sea, a storm. Oh, wonderful the desert gleamed, as man and maid we spoke and dreamed of love and life, till white wastes seemed like plains of paradise. Her eyes with love's great magic shone. Be mine, O, of your hand, your heart be all my own. Her lips made sweet response. I love you, yes, for you are he who from the east should come to me, and I have waited long. Oh, we were happy as the sun. There came upon a hopeless quest, with hell and hatred in his breast, a stranger who his love confessed to long in vain. To me she spoke, chosen mate, his eyes are terrible with fate. I fear his love, I fear his hate, I fear some looming ill. Then to the church we twain did ride, I kissed her as she rode beside. How passing fair my bride, with gold combs in her hair. Before the Spanish priest we stood of sans brotherhood, a shot rang out, and in her blood my dark-eyed darling lay. O God! I carried her beside the Virgin's altar, where she cried, smiling upon me ere she died, adieu, my love, adieu. I knelt before Mary's shrine and held my dead one's hand in mine. Vengeance, I cried, O Lord, be thine, but I thy minister. I kissed her thrice and sealed my vow, her eyes, her sea-cold lips and brow. Farewell, my heart is dying now, O of. Then swift upon my steed my streaming eyes the desert swept. I saw the accursed where he crept against the blood-red sun. I galloped straight upon his track, and never more my eyes looked back. The world was barred with red and black, my heart was flaming coal. Through the delirious twilight dim and the black night I followed him, hills did we cross and rivers swim. My fleet foot horse and I the morn burst red, a gory wound, o'er iron hills and savage ground, and there was never another sound save beat of horses' hoofs. Unto the murderer's ear they said, Tea of the dead. Tea of the dead. Still on his stallion black he sped, while death spurred on behind. Fiery dust from the blasted plain burnt like lava in every vein, but I rode on with steady rein, though the fierce sand devils spun. Then to a sullen land we came, whose earth was brass, whose sky was flame. I made it balm with her blessed name in the land of Mexico. With gasp and groan my poor horse fell, last of all things that loved me well. I turned my head, a smoking shell veiled me his dying throes. But fast on vengeful foot was I, his steed fell too, and was left to die. He fled where a river's channel dry made way to the rolling stream. Red as my rage the huge sun sank. My foe bent low on the river's bank, and deep of the kindly flood he drank, while the giant stars broke forth. Then face to face and man to man I fought him where the river ran, while the trembling palm held up its fan and the emerald serpents lay. The mad, remorseless bullets broke from tongues of flame in the sulphur smoke. The air was rent till the desert spoke to the echoing hills afar. Hot from his lips the curses burst, he fell. The sands were slaked of thirst, a stream in the stream ran dark at first, and the stones grew red as hearts. I shot him where the flows, I shot him when the moon arose, and, where he lies the vulture knows, along the river. But where she lies to none is known save to my poor heart, and a lonely stone on which I sit and weep alone, where the cactus stars are white. Where I shall lie no man can say, the flowers all are fallen away, the desert is so drear and oh of. Herman, Jack's grave. Far out in the wilds of Oregon, on a lonely mountainside, where Columbia's mighty waters roll down to the ocean's tide, where the giant fir and cedar are imaged in the wave, with ferns and lichens I found poor's grave. I found no marble monolith, no broken shaft nor stone recording 60 victories this vanquished victor won. No rose, no shamrock could I find, no mortal here to tell where sleeps in this forsaken spot the immortal nonpareil. A winding, wooded canyon road that mortals seldom tread leads up this lonely mountain to this desert of the dead. And the western sun was sinking in Pacific's golden wave, and these solemn pines kept watching over poor Jack's grave. That man of honor and of iron, that man of heart and steel, that man who far outclassed his class and made mankind to feel that's name and fame should live in serried stone, is now at rest far in the west in the wilds of Oregon. Forgotten by 10,000 throats that thundered his acclaim, forgotten by his friends and foes that cheered his very name, oblivion wraps his faded form, but ages hence shall save the memory of that Irish lad that fills poor's grave. O fame, why sleeps thy favored son in wilds, in woods, in weeds? And shall he ever thus sleep on, interred his valiant deeds? 'Tis strange New York should thus forget its bravest of the brave, and in the wilds of Oregon unmarked leaves grave. Man, the cattle round up. Once more are we met for a season of pleasure, that shall smooth from our brows every furrow of care. For the sake of old times shall we each tread a measure, and drink to the lays in the eyes of the fair. Once more let the handclasp of years past be given. Let us once more be boys and forget we are men. Let friendships, the chances of fortune have riven be renewed, and the smiling past come back again. The past when the prairie was big and the cattle were as scary as ever the antelope grew, when to carry a gun to make our spurs rattle, and to ride a blue streak was the most that we knew. The past when we headed each year for Dodge City and punched up the drags on the old trail when the world was all bright and the girls were all pretty, and a feller could ick and stay out of jail. Then here's to the eyes that like diamonds are gleaming, and make the lamps blush that their duties are o'er, and here's to the lips where young love lies a-dreaming, and here's to the feet light as air on the floor, and here's to the memories fun's sweetest sequel, and here's to the night we shall ever recall, and here's to the time shall know not its equal when we dance the day in at the cattleman's ball. H.D.C. Part II. The Cowboy Off Guard. I am the plain, barren since time began. Yet do I dream of motherhood, when man one day at last shall look upon my charms and give me towns, like children, for my arms. A cowboy's worrying love. I to read in the novel books 'bout fellers that got the prod from and shot from his, place by the hand o' the Cupid god, and I'd laugh at the cussed chumps they was their breath in size, and around with a locoed look inside their eyes. I've read the gals that broke 'em up in airy flight on angel pinions above their beds as they the same at night, and a sort disgusted bunch the wrinkles my brow and I'd call 'em a lot sissy boys, but I'm it different now. I got the jab in my rough heart, and I got it aplenty too, a center shot from a pair eyes of the sort blue, and I ride the ranges a size as cranky as a locoed steer, a derned heap worse than the novel blokes that the narrative queer. Just no energy left no mo, go round like a calf about that eyes that give me the Cupid gaff, and I'm all up when I hit the thought some other rider might cut in ahead on a faster hoss and rope her afore my sight. There ain't a heifer that ever run in the feminine beauty herd could switch a tail on the whole derned range, long side that little bird, a plump as a dog's that's on new spring grass, and as purty a face as was ever flashed in front of a glass. She's got a smile that raised the steam in the sort heart, a couple soul eyes, and the nose that keeps 'em apart is the thing in the sassy line that ever occurred to act as a ornament stuck on a purty face, and that's a dead open fact. I'm to brace her by to see if there's any hope, to see if she's liable to shy when I'm ready to pitch the rope, to see if she's to make a stand, or fly like a up dove when I make a pass with the iron that's het in the fire love. I'll open the little home corral and give her the level hunch to make a run fur the open gate when I cut her out the bunch, fur there ain't no sense in a round with a heart that's as soft as dough and the breath life away bunched up into size. Hey ho! James Barton Adams. The Cowboy and the Maid. Funny how it come about. Me and Texas Tom was out talkin' of a moonlight walk in the time with talk. Every star up in the sky seemed to wink the other eye at each other. They smelt a mouse around our way. Me and Tom had never grew spoony like some couples do, never billed and cooed inside. He was bashful like, and I'd notions of my own that it wasn't policy to get too abundant till I'd got of my feller good and caught. As we walked along that night he got of the bright prospects that he had, and I somehow felt, I dunno why, that afore we cakewalked back to the ranch he'd make a crack for my hand, and I was plumb for the shock to come. By and by, he says, I've got 50 head cows, and not one of 'em but on the dead is a thoroughbred. Got a daisy claim staked out, and it's about time for me to make a shy at a home. Oh, Tom, says I been around, says he, quite a little while to see if I could get a purty face fur to ornament the place. Plenty of 'em in the land, but the one at wears my brand must be wings to fly. You deserve her, Tom, says I, only one so fur, says he, fills the bill, and she might shy off and bust my hope if I should pitch the rope. She'd get hot and say that it was a silly play her to make a tie. She would be a fool, says I, nobody's business what happened then, but I thought I could see the moon man smile cutely down upon us, while me and him was back now and then to smack lips, that at last the dread crisis had been passed. Anonymous. A Cowboy's Love Song. Oh, the last steer has been branded, and the last beef has been shipped, and I'm free to roam the prairies that the roundup crew has stripped. I'm free to think of fairer than the stars above. She's the waitress at the station, and she is my turtle dove. Biscuit, she's got us roped and tied, sober men or woozy look on her with pride. Strong and able, and not a one gets rash when she waits on the table and superintends the hash. Oh, I sometimes think I'm locoed and fit for sheep, 'cause I only think of when I'm sleep. I'm Cupid's hobbles, and I'm tied to love's stake pin, and when my heart was branded the irons sunk deep in. Chorus, I take my saddle, Sundays, the one with inlaid flaps, and don my new sombrero and my white Angora chaps. Then I take a bronc fur and she leaves her pots and pans, and we figure out our future and talk o'er our homestead plans. Chorus anonymous. A border affair. Spanish is the tongue soft as music, light as spray. 'Twas a girl, I learnt it from down Sonora way. I don't look much like a lover, yet I say her love words over often when I'm all alone, me's me. Nights when she knew where I'd ride, she would listen for my spurs, throw the big door open wide, raise them, eyes of hers, and my heart would nigh stop when I'd hear her tender, whispered soft for me alone, me. Moonlight in the patio old near me, and low so the matter couldn't hear how those hours would go, and too soon I'd hear her in her little sorry tone, me. But one time I had to fly for a foolish fight, and we said a swift goodbye on that black, unlucky night. When I'd loosed her arms from, with her words the hoofs kept, as I galloped north alone, me. Never seen her since that night, I crossed the line, you know. She was Mex, and I was white, like as not it's better so. Yet I've always sort of missed her since that last, wild night I kissed her, left her heart and lost my own, me. Charles B. Clark. Sal. I was young and happy, and my heart was light and gay. Always, through the sunny summer day, happy as a lizard in the chaparral, down through Laramie with Sal. Sal, Sal, my heart is broke today, broke in two forever when they laid you in the clay. I would give creation to be with my gal, down through Laramie with Sal. Bury me tomorrow, where the lily blossoms spring underneath the willows, where the little robins sing. You will yearn to see me, but nevermore you shall, down through Laramie with Sal. Refrain, plant a little stone above the little mound of sod right. Here lies, as in a busted heart, begod. Nevermore you'll see him, proudly with his gal, down through Laramie with Sal. Sal, Sal, my heart is broke today, broke in two forever when they laid you in the clay. I would give creation to be with my gal, down through Laramie with Sal. Lowell O. in the Saturday Evening Post. Love lyrics of a cowboy. It no use for me to say there's others with a style and way that beats hers to a fare-you-well, fur on the square. I'm here to tell I can't even start to see but what she's perfect as kin be. For any fault I finds excuse, I'll tell you, pard, it no use for me to try to raise a hand, when on my heart she's run her brand. The bunkhouse ain't the same to me, the bunch makes me weary gee. I never knew they was so coarse. I warps my face to try to force a smile at each old gag they spring, fur I'd heap rather hear her sing sweet, or softly play the dream o' heaven that away. Besides this place, most anywhere I'd rather be so she was there. She called me dear, and do you know my heart skipped a beat, and though I'm hard to, I'm free to yip my reason nearly lost its grip. She called me dear, sweet and slow, and down and low, and if I had 10 lives to live, with everything the world could give, I'd shake 'em all without one fear if 'fore I'd go she'd call me dear. You wonders why I slicks up so on Sundays, when I gets to go to see her. Well, I'm free to say she's like religion that away. Sort o' like some holy thing, as clean as young grass in the spring, and so before I rides to her I looks my best from hat to spur, but even then I know right to think I look good in her sight. If she should pass me up, say, boy, you put hobbles on your joy, first thing you know, you get so gay your luck stampedes and gets away. And don't you even start a guess that you've a cinch on happiness, for few e'er reach the promised land if they starts headed by a band. Ride slow and quiet, humble too, or fate will slap its brand on you. The old range sleeps there astir, lest it's a night hawk's sudden whir, or cottonwoods a while the red moon smiles a smile. And there I set and hold her hand, so glad I can't understand the reason of it all, or see why all the world looks good to me, or why I sees in it heap more of beauty than I seen before. Fool talk perhaps, but it seems we're through a range o' dreams where larks the year round sing, and it's one eternal spring. And time, why time is gone by G. There's no such thing as time to me until she says, "Here, boy, you simply have got to go, it's nearly 12. I rides away, doggone o'clock. Is what I say. RV. The bull fight. The couriers from Chihuahua go to distant and announce the feast of all the year, the crown. Los Taros. And brings his Pepita into town. The rancherias on the mountainside, the haciendas of the lawn wide, are quickened by the matador's renown. Los Taros. And brings his Pepita into town. The women that on ambling burros ride, the men that trudge behind or close beside, make groups of dazzling red and white and brown. Los Taros. And brings his Pepita into town. Or else the lumbering carts are brought in play, that jolt and scream and groan along the way, but to their happy tenants cause no frown. Los Taros. And brings his Pepita into town. The Plaza Los Toros offers seats, some deep in shade, on some the fierce sun beats, these for the don, those for the rustic clown. Los Taros. And brings his Pepita into town. Pepita sits, so young and sweet and fresh, the sun shines on her hair's dusky mesh. Her day of days, how soon it will be flown. Los Taros. And's brought his Pepita into town. The bull is harried till the governor's word bids the give the agile sword, then shower the bravos and the roses down. Sta el Toro. And takes his Pepita back from the town. El Green. The cowboy's Valentine. Say Maul, now don't you to quit a maverick. Stock should be a bit and a marked teal stick. Old Val's up today upon the sweetheart range, and Mia, so to say, though this herd is strange. To Mien, I rope one to wear my brand, I'd strike home ranch on a lope, the happiest in the land. Yo savvy who I'm, so yo savvy who I be now, can't yo take that brand, yo no, the MINECF. A cowboy's hopeless love. I've heard that story oft times about that little chap for the moon to fall into his lap, and a raisin merry hell because he couldn't get the same to swing down low so's he could nab a holt of it, and I'm a that away, locoed I reckon, wuss than that same kid, though maybe not a fuss round with eyes a fur a peach that's on the beauty tree, too high for me to reach. I'm a rider of the range, plumb rough and unrefined, and wild in my ways like others of my kind, a reckless cuss in leather chaps, and tanned and blackened so you'd think I was a greaser from the plains of Mexico. I never learnt to say a prayer, and guess my style o' talk, if fired off in a Sunday school, would give 'em all a shock, and yet I got around as crazy as a loon and actin' like the story kid that fur the moon. I wish to God she'd never come with them bright eyes, had never flashed that smile that seems a sunburst from the skies, had stayed there in her city home instead, here to visit at the ranch and knock my heart plumb out o' gear. I wish to God she'd talk to me in a way to fit the case, in words have a tendency to hold me in my place, instead sociable and actin' like she thought us cowboys good as city gents in clothes that's tailor bought. If I would hint to her love, she'd hit that love ajar and laugh at a tough as Mia, to rope a star she'd give them fluffy skirts a flirt, and skate out my sight, and leave me, it'd serve me cussed right. I wish she'd pack her pile trunks and hit the city track, and maybe I'd recover from this violent attack and, in the future, know enough to watch my ground and shun the loco weed love when there's an angel round. James Barton Adams. The Chase. Here's a moccasin track in the drifts, it's no more than the length of my hand, and her instep just see how it lifts. If that ain't the best in the land. For the maid ran as free as the wind, and her foot was as light as the snow. Why, as sure as I follow, I'll find me a kiss where her red blushes grow. Here's 2 small little feet and a skirt, here's a soft little heart all aglow. See me trail down the dear little flirt by the sign that she left in the snow. Did she run? 'Twas a sign to make haste. And why, bless her, I'm sure she won't mind. If she's got any kisses to waste, why, she knew that a man was behind. Did she run 'cause she's only afraid? No, for sure 'twas to set me the pace. And I'll follow in love with a maid when I ain't had a sight of her face. There she is, and I knew she was near. Will she pay me a kiss to be free? Will she hate? Will she love? Will she fear? Why, the darlings. She's waiting to say. In a riding song. Let us ride together, blowing mane and hair, careless of the weather, miles ahead of care, ring of hoof and snaffle, swing of waist and hip, trotting down the twisted road with the world let slip. Let us laugh together, merry as of old, to the creak of leather and the morning cold. Break into a canter, shout to bank and tree, rocking down the waking trail, steady hand and knee. Take the life of cities, here's the life for me. 1,000 pities not to gallop free. So we'll ride together, comrades, you and I, careless of the weather, letting care go by. Anonymous, our little cowgirl. She goes a stranger khaki-gowned, with hair talk about your classy, you're it right. Just a kid, but let me tell you, when she warms a saddle seat on that outlaw bronca straddle, she is one that can't be beat. Every buckaroo that sees her cross the range astride has some mighty jealous, he knowed how to ride. Why, she'll take a deep barranca 6 foot wide and never peep, that air cayuse she's as sure's on the leap. Ride. Why, she can cut a critter from the herd as neat as pie, read a brand out on the ranges just as well as you or I. Ain't much yet with the, but you give her a few years and no puncher with the outfit will beat her a steers. Proud o' her. Say, let me tell you, she's the queen of all the range, got a grip upon our heartstrings mighty strong. But that ain't strange, 'cause she loves the cattle, loves the hills and open air, dusty trails on blossomed canyons God has strung around out here. Hoofbeats down the mesa, chicken time in lively tune, just below the trail to wait, you'll see her pretty soon. You can bet I know that now she's yonder swell. She is, that's her at the bars of the corral. Anonymous, I want my time. I'm night guard all alone tonight, dead homesick, lonely, tired and blue, and none but you can make it right. My heart is hungry, girl, for you. I've longed all night to hug you, dear, to speak my love I'm at a loss. But just as soon as daylight's here, I'm straight to see the boss. How long's the roundup to run? Another week or maybe 3. Give me my time, then I am done. No, I'm not sick. 3 weeks. Oh, Jay. I know, though, when I've had enough. I will not work, darned if I will. I'm to quit, and that's no bluff. Say, gimme some tobacco, Bill. Anonymous. Who's that calling so sweet? The herds are gathered in from plain and hill, who's that a-calling? The boys are sleeping and the boys are still, who's that a-calling? 'Twas the wind a-sighing in the prairie grass, who's that a-calling? Or wild birds singing overhead as they pass. Who's that a-calling? Making heart and pulse to beat. No, no, it wasn't earthly sound I heard, who's that a-calling? It was no sigh of breeze or song of bird, who's that a-calling? For the tone I heard was softer far than these, that a-calling. 'Twas loved one's voices from far off across the seas. Song of the cattle trail. The dust hangs thick upon the trail, and the horns and the hoofs are clashing, while off at the side through the chaparral the men and the strays go crashing. But in right good cheer the cowboy sings, for the work of the fall is ending, and then it's ride for the old home ranch where a maid love's light is tending. Then it's crack, crack, crack. On the beef steers back, and it's run, you slow-foot devil, for I'm soon to turn back where through the black love's lamp gleams along the level. He's trailed them far o'er the trackless range, has this night of the saddle leather, he has risked his life in the mad stampede, and has breasted all kinds of weather. But now is the end of the trail in sight, and the hours on wings are sliding, for it's back to the home and the only girl when the foreman okays the option. Then it's quirt, 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 and it's run or get hurt, you hang back, bawling critter. For a man who's in love with a turtle dove ain't got no time to fritter. Anonymous, a cowboy's son, from little stranger, little boy, was a cloud on that star-strewn plain, but fell from the skies like a drop of rain to this world of sorrow and long, long pain. Will care yo's little boy. When grows little varmint, little boy, LB a hoss by yo side with yo gun and yo spurs and yo pride. We'll think of yo home when the world rolls wide. We'll wish for yo, little boy. When love and yo manhood, little boy, when dream of a girl who is angel fair, when the stars are her eyes and the wind is her hair, when the sun is her smile and yo, heaven's there, will care for yo, little boy. In a cowboy song. I could not be so well content, so sure of thee, but well I know you must relent and come to me, Lolita. The caballeros throng to see thy laughing face, Lolita. But well I know thy heart, for me thy charm, thy grace, Lolita. I ride the range for thy dear sake to earn thee gold, Lolita, and steal the gringo's cows to make a ranch to hold, Lolita. In a Nevada cowpuncher to his beloved. Lonesome. Well, I guess so. This place is mighty blue, the silence of the empty rooms palpitates with you. The day has lost its beauty, the sun's a pale, I'll round up mice and I guess I'll hit the trail. Out there in the sagebrush, to the coo of the wild dove in his matin, I can think alone of you. Perhaps a gaunt coyote will go by and linger on the mountain ridge, and cock his wary eye. And when the settles, for the dawn perhaps I'll hear the ground owl, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone. Anonymous. The cowboy to his friend in need. You're very well polished, I'm free to confess, well balanced, well rounded, a power for right, but cool and collected, no steel could be less, you're primed for continual fight. Your voice is a bellicose bark of ill will, on hatred and choler you seem to have fed, but when I control you, your temper is nil, in fact, you're most easily led. Though lead is your diet and fight is your fun, I simply can't give you the jolt, for I love you, you blessed old son of a gun, you 45 caliber Colt. Burke. When Bob got throwed. That time when Bob got throwed, I thought I sure would bust. I like to died, to see him dust. He crawled on that bronc and hit him with a quirt. The next thing that he knew he was in the dirt. Yes, it might 'a killed him, I heard the old ground pop, but to see if he was injured you bet I didn't stop. I just rolled on the ground and began to kick and yell, it like to tickled me to death to see how hard he fell. More than a week ago that I myself got throwed, but 'twas from a meaner horse than old Bob ever rode. Oh, reckon Bob looked sad and said, I hope that you ain't hurt. No, he just and to see me, dirt. I've been ever since for his horse to turn his pack, and when he done it, I'd a if it had broke his back. So I was still when Bob, he got up lame, he seen his horse had run clean off, and so for me he came. He first chucked sand into my eyes, with a rock he rubbed my head, then he twisted both my arms. Now go fetch that horse, he said. So I went and fetched him back, but I was good all day, for I sure enough do love to see a feller get throwed that way. Ray. Cowboy versus Bronco. Haven't got no special, fur the sorts o' play, foxes or that polo game, critters over hurdles sort o' things that any jay could accomplish and regard as rather tame. None o' them is worth a mention, to my view, which the same I hold correct without a doubt, as of a bronco that has got it in fur you in, concludes that's just the time to have it out. Don't no sooner hit the saddle than the exercises start, and there in fuss you kin hear his alike he's 'em apart, and the hide seems off the cuss, and you sometimes get a that makes everything turn blue, and you want to strictly mind what you're about, when you're with a bronco that has got it in fur you and imagines that's the time to have it out. Bows his back when he is, sticks his nose between his knees, and he shakes himself while in the air, then he hits the earth so solid that it somewhat disagrees with the usual peace and quiet of your hair. You imagine that your innards are all askew, and your spine don't feel so cussed firm and stout when you're up agin a bronco that has got it in fur you of his level best to have it out. He will rise to the occasion with a jump, and then when he hits the face these United States doesn't linger half a second till he's in the air again, occupies the earth and then evacuates. Isn't any sense comfort like in a pew, to hear a sleepy parson spout when you're up on top a bronco that has got it in fur you in, is to have it out. Always feel a touch pity when he has to give it up after, a well-intentioned buck and is broken-hearted and as gentle as a puppa on the rottenness luck. Puts your sympathetic, as you might say, in a stew though you're lame as if from the gout, when you're off a bronco that has had it in fur you and mistook the proper time to have it out. James Barton Adams. When you're throwed. If a feller been astraddle since he's big enough to ride, and has had to sling his saddle on most any colored hide, though it's they take pride in, still most fellers I have knowed, if they ever done much, has at different times got throwed. All the boys start out together for the roundup some fine day when you're due to throw your leather on a little wall-eyed bay, and he swells to beat the nation when you're up the slack, and he keeps an elevation in your saddle at the back. He stands still with feet and his eye shows lots of white, and he kinks his spinal column, and his hide is puckered tight. He starts and he strikes when you get near. And you cuss him and you thump him till you get him by the ear, then your right hand grabs the saddle and you catch your stirrup too. And you try to light a straddle like a woolly buckaroo, but he drops his head and switches, then he makes a backward jump. Out of reach your stirrup twitches, but your right spur grabs his hump. And stay with him. Shouts some feller, though you know it's hope forlorn, yet you'll show that you ain't yeller and you choke the saddle horn. Then you feel one rein and you know he's got his head, and your shirt tails out and the saddle pulls like lead. Then the boys all yell together, fit to make a feller sick. Hey, you short horn, drop the leather. Fan his fat and ride him slick. Seems you're upside down and then your spurs begin to slip. There's no further use for the horn flies from your grip. And you feel a vague sensation as upon the ground you roll, like a violent separation your body and your soul. Then you roll again a hummock where you lay and gasp for breath, and there's grips your stomach like the finger grips death. They all offers you prescriptions for the grip and for the croup, and they give you plain descriptions how you loop the spiral loop. They all swear you beat a circus or a dance, up the cannon's surface with the bosom of your pants. Then you'll get up on your trotters, but you have a job to stand, for the landscape round you totters, and your collar's full o' sand. Lots of fellers give prescriptions how a bronco should be rode, but there's few that gives descriptions of the times when they got throwed. Anonymous. Pardners. You bad-eyed, tough-mouthed son of a gun, a hard little beast to break, but good for the fiercest kind of a run and quick as a rattlesnake. Jolted me good when we first met in the dust of that bear corral, and neither one of us will forget the fight we fit, old pal. But now well say, old hoss, if John D. come with all the riches his paws are on and want to buy you, you bum, I'd laugh in his face and pat your neck and say to him loud and strong, I wouldn't sell you this old wreck for all your wealth so long. For we have slept on the barren plains and cuddled against the cold, we've been through tempests of rains when the heaviest thunder rolled, we've raced from fire on the lone and run from the mad stampede, and there ain't no money could buy from me a part of your style and breed. So I reckon we'll stick together, pard, till one of us cashes in and tough and mighty hard and than sin. But your head's all there and your heart's all right, and you've been a good pardner too, and if a soul it's clean and white, you ugly scoundrel, you. The bronc that wouldn't bust. I've busted broncos off and on since first I struck their trail, and you bet I savvy broncos from nostrils down to tail, but I struck one on Powder River, and say hands, he was the first and only living bronco that your servant couldn't burst. He was a no-count buckskin, wasn't worth 2 bits to keep, had a black stripe down his backbone, and was woolly like a sheep. That hoss wasn't built to tread the earth, he took natural to the air and, every time he went aloft he tried to leave me there. He went so high above the earth lights from Jerusalem shone. Right we parted company, and he came down alone. I hit terra firma, the buckskin's heels struck free, and brought a bunch of stars along to dance in front of me. I'm not a riding airships nor an electric flying beast, ain't got no rich relation me back east, so I'll sell my chaps and saddle, my spurs can lay and rust, for there's now and then a digger that a buster cannot bust. Anonymous. The cow haws. When it comes to saddle hosses, there's a difference in steeds. There is fancy-gated critters that will suit some feller's needs. There is nags high-bred and tony, with a smooth and shiny skin, that will capture all the races that you want to run 'em in. But for one that never tires, one that's faithful, tried and true, one that is a stayer when you want to slam him through, there is but one breed o' critters that I ever came across that will stand the racket, tease the cow haws. No, he ain't so much fur beauty, fur he's scrubby and he's rough, and his temper's sort o' sassy, but you bet he's good enough. Fur he'll take the trail be it up or be it down on the range, a cattle or into town, and he'll leave the miles behind him, and he'll never sweat a hair 'cause he's a critter when he's anywhere. Your thoroughbred in a race may be the boss, but fur all day lemme have the cow haws. When my soul seeks peace and quiet on the home ranch of the blessed, where no storms or stampedes bother, and the trails are trails o' rest, when my brand has been inspected and pronounced to be okay, and the boss has looked me over and has told me I can stay when I'm off across that blessed range that I won't be in a saddle on a critter new and strange. but I'm every that up there I'll ride across that big heaven range o' glory on in Cowhaws. Aye, the bunkhouse orchestra. Wrangle up your mouth harps, drag your banjo out, tune your old till she twangs right stout, for the snow is on the mountains and the wind is on the plain, but we'll cut the chimneys with a livelier refrain. 'Dobe fireplace, shadows on the wall, see old Shorty's O's toes at the call. It's the best grand high that there is within the law when 7 jolly punchers tackle turkey in the straw. Freezy was the day's ride, lengthy was the trail, why steer was haughty with a high-arched tail, but we held 'em and we shoved 'em for our hearts were tried by a fort and our dear fireside. Swing into stop time, don't you let droop, you're about as tuneful as a coyote with the croup. The cold wind bit when we drifted down the draw, but we drifted on to comfort and to turkey in the straw. When the rain whipped at the ford, why mile of 20 was a long discord, but the night is music, and its glory is complete when the eye is razzle-dazzled by the flip o' Shorty's feet. Snappy for the dance now till she up and shoots. Don't he beat the devil's wife for her in his boots? Shorty got throwed high and we laughed till he was raw, but tonight he's done forgot it, turkey in the straw. Rainy dark or firelight, bacon rind or pie, is a luxury that don't come high be happy and while our years and luck allow, for we all must die or marry less than 40 years from now. Lively on the last turn. To the death. Reddy's soul is, but he's short o' breath. The storm wind sings, and old Trouble sucks his paw when we have an hour of firelight set to turkey in the straw. Charles Badger Clark. The Cowboy's Dance Song. You can't expect a cowboy to agitate his shanks in manner in aristocratic ranks when he's always been accustomed to shake the heel and toe at the rattling rancher dances where much don't go. You can bet I set them laughing in quite an excited way, giving of their squinters an astonished sort of play, when I happened into Denver and was asked to take a prance in the smooth and easy mazes of a high-toned dance. When I got among the ladies in their frocks of fleecy white, and the dudes togged out in wrappings that were simply out of sight, tell you what, I was embarrassed, and somehow I couldn't keep from feeling like a burro in a pretty flock of sheep. Every step I made was awkward, and I blushed a fiery red like the principal adornment of a turkey gobbler's head. The ladies said 'twas seldom that they had had the chance to see an old-time puncher at a high-toned dance. I cut me out a heifer from a bunch of pretty girls and yanked her to the center to dance the dreamy whirls. She laid her head upon my bosom in a loving sort of way, and we drifted into heaven as the band began to play. I could feel my neck a-burning from her nose's breathing heat, and she doted around me, half the time upon my feet. She peered up in my blinkers with a soul-dissolving glance quite conducive to the pleasures of a high-toned dance. Every nerve just got a dancing to the music of delight as I hugged the little uncomfortably tight, but she never made a bellow, and the glances of her eyes seemed to thank me for the pleasure of a genuine surprise. She snuggled up against me in a loving sort of way, and I hugged her all the for her trustifying play. Tell you what, the joys of heaven ain't a cussed circumstance to the hugamania pleasures of a high-toned dance. When they struck the old cotillion on the music bill of fare, every bit of devil in me seemed to burst out on a tear. I fetched a cowboy whoop and started into rag and cut her with my trotters till the floor began to sag, swung my pardner till she got seasick and rushed for a seat. I balanced to the next one, but she dodged me slick and neat. Tell you what, I shook the creases from my go-to-meeting pants when I put the cowboy trimmings on that high-toned dance. James Barton Adams. The Cowboys' Christmas Ball. Way out in western Texas, where the Clear Forks waters flow, where the cattle are and the Spanish ponies grow, where the norther comes from beyond the neutral strip, and the prairie dogs are as if they had the grip, where the coyotes come around the ranches after dark, and the mockingbirds are to the lovely lark, where the possum and the badger and rattlesnakes abound, and the monstrous stars are o'er a wilderness profound. Where lonesome, tawny prairies melt into airy streams, while the double mountains slumber in heavenly kinds of dreams, where the antelope is and the lonely plovers call, it was there that I attended the Cowboys' Christmas Ball. The town was city old Jones's county seat, where they raise polled cattle and waving whiskered wheat, where the air is soft and balmy and dry and full of health, and the prairies is with agricultural wealth, where they print the Texas Western that supplies with news and yarns and stories of most size, where Frank Smith pulls the badger on tender feet, and democracy's triumphant and mighty hard to beat, where lives that good old hunter, John, from who used to be the sheriff back east in Paris, saw. 'Twas there, I say, at with the lively wall, that I went to that reception, the cowboys' Christmas ball. The boys had left the ranches and come to town in piles, the ladies kinder had gathered in for miles. And yet the place was crowded, as I remember well, 'twas got for the occasion at the Morning Star Hotel. The music was a fiddle and a lively tambourine, and a viol come imported, by stage from Abilene. The room was togged out gorgeous with mistletoe and shawls, and candles flickered frescoes around the airy walls. The women folks looked lovely, the boys looked kinder treed, till their leader commenced, "Whoa, fellers, let's stampede." The music started, and through the hall, as a kind of introduction to the cowboys' Christmas ball. The leader was a fellow that came from ranch, they called him Windy Billy, from Little Dead Man's Branch. His rig was kinder, big spurs and high-heeled boots, he had the reputation that comes when fellers shoots. His voice was like the bugle upon the mountain's height, his feet were animated, and a mighty sight when he commenced to holler, "Fellers, stake your pen. Lock horns to all them heifers, and like men. Your lovely critters, swingin', let 'em go climb the grapevine round, all hands do. You mavericks, the roundup just skip her waterfall, huh. Hit was happy, the cowboys' Christmas ball. The boys were tolerable skittish, the ladies powerful neat, that old bass viol's music just got there with both feet. That frisky fiddle I never shall forget, and Windy kept I think I hear him yet. Oh, chase your squirrels, and cut 'em to one side, spur to the center, with Cross P. Charlie's bride Doc. Down the middle and twine the ladies' chain, pen the fillies in Big T. Diamond's train. All pull your freight, swallow fork and change, Big Boston lead the trail herd, through Little Pitchfork's range. Purr round your gentle pusses, rope 'em. Balance all. Huh. Hit was active, the cowboys' Christmas ball. The dust fast and furious, we all just galloped round, till the scenery got so giddy that Bar Dick was downed. We buckled to our partners, and told 'em to hold on, then shook our hoofs like lightning until the early dawn. Don't tell me 'bout cotillions or Germans. No, sir. That whirl at city just takes the cake with me. I'm sick of lazies, of them I've had my fill, give me a breakdown, backed up by Windy Bill. Ain't nowhere. When Windy leads the show, I've seen him both in harness, and so I sorter know. Oh, Bill, I shan't forget your, and I'll oftentimes recall that lively gated the cowboys' Christmas ball. In ranch verses. A dance at the ranch. From every point they gaily come, the bronco's unshod feet pat at the green sod of the range with quick, emphatic beat, the tresses of the buxom girls as banners stream behind, like silken, castigating whips cut at the sweeping wind. The dashing cowboys, brown of face, sit in their saddle thrones and sing the wild songs of the range in free, uncultured tones, or ride beside the pretty girls like gallant cavaliers, and pour the usual fairy tales into their ears. Within the best room of the ranch, the jolly gathered throng buzz like a hive of human bees and lade the air with song. The maidens tap their sweetest smiles and give their tongues full rein in efforts to entrap the boys in admiration's chain. The fiddler tunes the strings with pick of thumb and scrape of bow, finds one string keyed a note too high, another one too low, then rosins up the tight-drawn hairs, the young folks in a fret until their ears are greeted with the warning words, all set. Ute your pardners. Let 'er go. Balance all and do. Swing your girls and run away. Right and left and gents sashay. Gents to right and swing or cheat. On to next gal and repeat. Balance next and don't be shy. Swing your pard and swing high. Bunch the gals and circle round. Whack your feet until they bound. Form a basket. Break away. Swing and kiss and all get gay. And lift and balance all. Lift your hoofs and let 'em fall. Swing your ops. Swing again. Kiss thee if you can. And thus the merry dance went on till morning's struggling light in lengthening streaks of breaks down the barriers of the night, and broncs are mounted in the glow of early morning skies by weary-limbed young revelers with drooping, sleepy eyes. The cowboys to the ranges speed to work the lowing herds, the girls within their chambers hide their sleep like weary birds, and for a week the young folks talk of what a jolly spree they had that night at Jackson's ranch down on the Anonymous, at a cowboy dance. Get yo little ready, trot 'em out upon the floor, line up there, you critters. Steady. Lively now. One couple more. Shorty shed that sombrero bronco, douse that stop your, for the ladies. Now all set. Your ladies all together, ladies opposite the same. Hit the lumber with your leather, balance all and swing your dame, bunch the heifers in the middle, circle stags, and do keep to the fiddle. Swing 'em round and off you go. First 4 forward. Back to places. Second. Shuffle back, now you've got it down to cases. Swing 'em till their trotters crack. Gents all right a heelin', swing kiss 'em if yo kin, on to next and keep till yo hit your pards again. Gents to center. Ladies round 'em form a basket, balance all, swing your sweets to where yo found 'em all around the hall. Balance to your pards and trot 'em round the circle double quick, grab and squeeze 'em while you've got hold 'em to it if they kick. Ladies left hand to your sonnies, grand right and left, balance all and swing your, pick 'em up and feel their heft. All like cattle, balance all in, swing your sweets, shake your spurs and make 'em rattle keno. Promenade to seats. James Barton Adams. The Cowboys' Ball. Yeppa, 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 yeppa. Up the fiddle you and take pardner there by the wall. Say how. Make a bow and sashay down the middle, shake, leg lively at the Cowboys' Ball. Big feet, little feet, all the feet, everybody happy in the goose, a high lope, trot, hit the spot like a colt, keep a leather while you got one eye. Yeah, would you watch his wings, like a chicken that's for its head high? Yep, never slip and never think of, just keep feet, till we all drop dead. High heels, low heels, moccasins and slippers, real old rally round the dipper and the keg. Uncle Eats Red had too many dippers, better get him hobbled or he'll break his leg. Yeppa, 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 yeppa. Up the fiddle, pass him up another, for his arm is slow. Bow down. Right in town and sashay down the middle, got to keep for to see the show. Yes, ma'am. Warms, ma'am. Wanna rest a minute. Like to get a breath of air at the stars. All right. Fine night dance. There's in it. That's my pony there through the bars. Bronc, ma'am. No, ma'am. Gentle as a kitten. Here, boy. Shake a hand. Now, ma'am, you can see night's cool. What a fool to dance instead of like a gent and lady, same as you and me. Yeppa, 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 yeppa. Up the fiddle, well, them as likes the exercise sure can have it all. Right wing, lady swings and sashay down the middle. But this beats at the Cowboys' Ball. Henry,